6 p.m. We are in the assembly room. So just going to preface this by saying, I know there's been a lot on the internet. I hate the internet. About a couple of the pre-applications here. These are pre-applications, folks. This isn't even something that's been proposed. This is a, hi, how are you? We're thinking about doing this. What do you guys think? That said, so this is not a hearing. It's not a workshop. But that said, in keeping with the tradition of this board, if people have comments, I will give you an opportunity to speak. But you will be civil, and you will speak to the points. And that's always been my rule. I'm not scolding anybody. That's always what I preface it at. But understand that, especially in one situation, it is a legal use. It is a legal use. So just want to preface that. But I will give you an opportunity to speak. So thank you. Now we'll start the meeting. I need a roll, please. He is out sick. He has the plague.
Absent with cause.
Absent with cause. Yeah.
Mark Brady?
Here.
Stephen DeSimone?
Here.
Thomas Callahan?
Here.
Dr. O'Neill?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have 4 members present. You have a quorum.
All right, great. I'd like to start with Tax Assessor's Plat R2, Lot 350, 36 Mollusk Drive. Do we have the applicant here? Are you representing yourself? Do you have legal? Well, whoever's here, come on up. We don't bite.
They
All right.
represent there, aren't they?
So
At that microphone, yeah.
you can grab a chair and come on up. Do me a favor, make sure the red light's on when you speak. Introduce yourselves and what your roles are, please.
Ron Perillo. My wife and I, Angela, own 36 Mollusk Drive in Narragansett, and we're here to seek a special use permit for our property.
Okay. So they're submitting a request to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a 3-bedroom dwelling with a first-floor sun deck, a second-floor deck, 2-car garage, driveway at the above referenced property. It requires a variance and a special use permit from Coastal Resources Overlay District and a variance from the dimensional regulations. The property is also located in a special flood hazard area. It's being reviewed on the 2023 dimensional regulations. Existing lot is approximately 9,200 square feet in size, is located in R10 zoning district, and is currently occupied with an existing 1-story dwelling, a right side yard deck with stairs, a rear yard shed with adjacent patio to the east, and a 34.5 foot by 10 foot paved driveway. The existing lot coverage is approximately 1,071 square feet, or 11.6%. Proposed demolition of existing dwelling, deck and stairs, removal of existing rear yard shed and patio, removal of existing paved driveway, construction of a 30 by 36 foot 2-story 3-bedroom dwelling with a 2-car garage, 36 by 36 first-floor sun deck with front and rear yard setbacks, a 4 by 9 second-floor deck, and a 30 by 28 pervious driveway. Proposed buildings and lot coverage will be approximately 1,980 square feet, or 21%. Staff, you have some updates. Could you inform the public and the board?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So staff would just like to note that the proposed construction will actually be located approximately 25 feet from the flag coastal feature instead of 20 feet that was noted in the report. The original measurement was taken from the stairs and not the deck. This will also trigger the variance being requested, reduce it to 175 feet. It's 175-foot variance as opposed to 180-foot variance.
Okay, and before everybody gasps on the footage, their proposal is not going to increase the infringement on it. In fact, it's going to decrease it a little bit. Is that not true?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's say, So the closest point of the proposed construction will be located approximately 20 feet from the edge of a flagged coastal feature. We now say it's 25 feet. So does
25.
it got to go CRMC?
It will,
It
yes.
still has to, yep. You understand that? Okay.
That as well, yes.
It is, receives town water, but you have on-site, and it has been approved for 3 bedrooms, correct?
Yes, ISDS, yes.
Okay. Trying to see any other pertinent stuff. Project is located in a FEMA flood zone, characterized as AE with a base flood elevation of 13 feet as designated by FEMA flood insurance rate. Portion of this project is also located in FEMA flood zone EV with a base flood elevation of approximately 17 feet. However, the dwelling and all proposed construction appears to be located outside of this designation. The project must conform with the National Flood Insurance Program, Rhode Island State Building Code requirements, and town ordinance. Elevation certificate was submitted with this application dated June 6, 2025, confirming the proposed grade on site at 8.5 and the lowest proposed finished floor to be elevated at 17.5. The proposed parking areas comply with section 7.9 of the zoning ordinance, 200 square feet per bedroom, as a projected proposed 840 square foot outside parking. Tried to hit all the pertinent stuff. Did I miss anything, staff? We're converting from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom. That's about all I got. That sound right? Okay. I don't try to take people's thunder, but I have a bigger voice, and so I inform everybody at once. Welcome. Can you run us through what you want to do, why you want to do it, and how you're going to do it?
Sure. Actually.
You can pull that over.
Okay. Actually, this property was owned by my wife's family since 1979. They were there, we've been there. We're not looking to do this for an Airbnb, for a rental, or, it's just for our own use. Our son just got out of college, and now we see fit to be able to, build a home for hopefully our retirement someday. So as opposed to renovating what's there and going through the cost, we'd like to build something new, obviously, new, better quality, and just enjoy the property. And we obviously would be demolishing the structure, installing a new leach field, and then after the leach field is installed, because of the way the property is situated, then we would have to, build a new house, which is a pre-modular home, after the leach field has been installed and foundation has been put in place.
Terrific. Anybody in your group want to add anything? You're becoming a fixture here.
Yeah, I know.
And I mean that as a compliment.
Jim Flynn, 22 Stanton Avenue. Yeah, just to go back to the setback for the wetlands, it is depicted 25 feet on the plan.
Yep.
It does show that, it's not the 20.
Yeah. It was picked up.
Yeah, very good.
Dynamite. Okay. Staff, anything you want to add? No?
Not right now.
All right. Doc?
No, I think you summarized it very well. A modest increase in use of the property, and I guess that's a good way to say it.
Tom?
I don't know whether this is a question for staff or for you all. Could someone explain to me the 180-foot variance? Oh, the width is now the 174 and a half, or whatever it is right now.
Yeah, of course. So that is taken from, in section 4.4, which is based off of CRMC's regulations, there's a 200-foot coastal resource buffer zone, and they're building 25 feet. Their point of construction is 25 feet from the flagged coastal feature. You take that 25 feet and subtract it by the 200 feet, you have a 175-foot variance. So if, for instance, if they were building 100 feet away from it, they would have a 100-foot variance.
Thank you.
Is that it, Tom?
Nothing else right now.
Okay. Steve? We go quick and he complains. We go slow, he complains.
I like it, quick and easy, quick and easy. So the only thing I saw on here that I have a question about, it's not really a question, it's more of a comment. I've got a bit of a reoccurring theme up here with our fire safety setbacks. So I did take a look at your plan, the second floor, the third level, because you've got the stilts. Yep, which I understand. You've got a bedroom up there with a window on the left-hand
Can we show
side
the
of the
elevation,
building.
please?
Yeah, sorry, left-hand elevation. No worries, it's in there. It's in there.
The computer's frozen. So
Okay,
just give me a second.
good.
I'll get there.
Here we go.
Okay.
Now it's catching up. All right, right there. That's the one. Left-hand elevation, yeah. So you see that third floor window there? I'm assuming that's an egress window because it's a large window. Generally, I would tell you to put a non-egress window there. But you've got an egress window on the front of the house that serves that bedroom. So as long as nobody else has a problem with it, I think it's safer to have them as many as you can get. But I understand with the fire department, we're worried about that, and I'm worried about that, and I want to give you the best advice we can. So to me, it's fine because you have one on the front, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it because you are closer to that left-hand sideline than would accommodate for a ladder tall enough to reach that window. So,
We can take a look at that and address that. It's not a problem. Thank you for your,
no problem.
That was actually on mine. Fire is a big thing. I have a great deal of respect for what they do and how they do it. Do you guys want to add anything?
I think we're pretty much set as far as that goes. If you have any questions of us, we thank you for your time and consideration.
Believe me, we're not shy. If we have them, we'll ask. Anybody, butters, public? No? Doc, redirect? No? Tom, redirect?
No, I'm good.
Steve? Nope. Staff?
Staff would just like to know, we'd like to strike condition, I'm sorry, I think it's 4. Can we strike condition 4, that the project must conform to national flood insurance condition, requirements? This wouldn't be applicable to this project because the property is not in a flood zone.
Okay. I thought part of it was the structure's not, though.
The structure, I apologize. The structure is not in a flood zone.
Okay. Terrific. All right. All right. Hearing nothing else,
Ready to move?
do I have a motion?
Sure.
Move before we go. Have you read these conditions?
Yes,
All right, you agree to these conditions?
yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
No, that's a good point.
Sometimes people
Yeah,
start seeing a list and they get about a tenth of a way through it and kind of go.
so that's a good point.
I have a motion?
So move the application before us. Perillo, a tax assessor, Plat R2, Lot 350 is complete and in conformance with the town comprehensive plan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Wait.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm
No,
sorry. Sorry.
he is really a
I've got
he's
Steve.
a good-natured guy tonight here.
I got
Holy
Steve in my mind about moving through.
Jeez.
I see Steve going.
We're quick
No.
today.
Done.
This is shocking.
We need-
I like it.
We
Do I
need
have-
one more motion to
do I have
get
a
you out of
motion?
here.
Do I have a
All
motion
right,
on the
so,
product?
yeah.
Thank
So, move the application before us, Perillo, tax assessor, Plat R2, Lot 350, positively with the staff's comments, recommendations on the correspondence dated August 15th, 2025.
Please note that applicant says they did read it and agree to all the conditions.
Right.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That too is unanimous. Now I can say congratulations.
Now,
Thank you
If
very
you
much.
haven't figured it out, we don't take ourselves too seriously. We do take our work seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. Question to council. Hey, Bob. How are you? Welcome. Mainly because we're seeing more and more, and I think with proposed changes or potentially proposed changes coming from the town council in our ordinances, I think we're going to see more and more knockdown rebuilds. Westerly had a case, and it went to Superior Court, and then went to Supreme Court on a voluntary knockdown rebuild. And we have had one before. This doesn't affect you guys. I wait until afterwards, please. Go, enjoy. You can run, go home, go get a bite to eat. But I think at some point in time, we need to sit down and spend a little bit of time, whether it's part of a formal meeting or a workshop or whatever we want to do it, but really go over this, because I think we're going to see more and more knockdown rebuilds. And I have a lot of questions. And we have one already now through the system that essentially falls under the same preview. So if we can do that and you guys can put your thinking caps together and help us on this, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I read that opinion,
Yeah.
and as is not unusual for lawyers, I have more questions than I have answers. for
I did
what it is
too.
they
That's why I'm asking you. I went through it
I
several
had a
times.
friend of mine who I practiced law with, became a member of the Supreme Court, and when he was up there, his name was Frank Flaherty. He was the former mayor of Warwick, and he told me that we're not the last court because we're always right. We're always right because we're the last court. So
All right.
we'll take that in mind in
Yeah.
figuring out what it is they meant and apply it to at least a few factual situations that you might anticipate in
Yeah.
your question to me as to how that case might impact your decisions or the impact on the applicants.
Right, and I intentionally waited until this applicant was through to ask it. But I think just a clarification for us and out of respect for the legal people that come before us, so we understand where we sit, how it sits with us. If we do have to adjust our ordinances to meet the needs or whatever it is. But I think we're going to start to see more and more of these. So it's not part of our agenda. I don't want to take up a lot of the board's time, but I did think it was paramount to ask. So thank
I
you.
appreciate the question.
Thanks. All right. Next, Nero, Tax Assessor's Plat, NR Lot 283. This is 80 Onondaga Road. I used to coach college lacrosse, and we played Onondaga in lacrosse. Not a pleasurable ride home. Yeah, very good. The applicant is submitting a request to add a second floor to the existing rear yard garage to accommodate 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and an associated right side second-story deck with stairs at the above referenced property. The project requires a special use permit for homes exceeding 4 bedrooms, section 12.23, and a variance for dimensional regulations, section 6.4. This property is also located in a special flood hazard, section 4.7. Existing conditions. Lot 283 is approximately 15,000 square foot in size, is located in an R10 zoning district, and is currently occupied with an existing 25 by 60 two-story dwelling, a 7.5 by 25 front yard porch, and 11.5 by 15 rear yard granite patio, an 18 by 19 rear yard garage, and a 4.5 by 8.5 rear outdoor shower, a front yard concrete walkway, and a 55 by 21.5-foot driveway. Existing lot coverage is approximately 2,229 square feet, 14.8%. Construction of the second floor addition above the existing garage at 20 by 10, right side second story deck with a 7 by 12.5 stairs and a 7 by 9 crushed stone area underneath proposed staircase, and a 22 by 13.5 left side crushed stone area. Proposed building lot coverage will be approximately 2,564 square feet, or 17%. The lot, as I said, dimension is 1,500 square foot. The project does not comply with dimensional regulations in section 6.4, as the rear yard, side yard setback proposed is 13.2, 25 foot is required. Left yard setback proposed is 4.8, 12 is required. Floor area ratio FAR proposed is 0.25, 0.24 is required. Hardscape proposed is 30%, 26 is required, and a height and accessory structure proposed is 23, 11, 16 is required. See if anything else. I went through the variances and the setbacks, dimensional regulations, 0.1 or 900 square foot FAR variance, 4% hardscape variance, 10.9 left side variance, 7.2 foot rear side variance, 6.1 accessory structural height variance, section 1223 special use permit, development standards for homes exceeding 4 bedrooms. Staff, on B, on the front page of your notes, all these setbacks, how many of these are already existing with the existing structures?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I wrote all those down. I can run them through.
Okay.
But just so you know, it's not 900 square feet. I believe it's 260 square feet of FAR relief, not 900.
Okay.
I wouldn't be here today if it was 900. I did want to give you some pictures. I don't think you have this, and I'm not sure if anybody's been able to go out and take a look at the site.
We do.
It's a very handsome home.
That's a blow-up of a Google picture.
Jack, I need one here.
Oh,
By the way, who is our acting secretary? I believe Tom is.
I thought that was Steve.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
so, Mr.
Tom is
Chairman,
waiting.
the existing garage is a legal non-conforming building as it has 15 feet 3 inches from the rear lot line, and 24 is required. 6 feet 10 inches from the left side line, and 12 feet is required.
But it is existing structure.
It's existing, yes. That's why I brought that picture there. You can see the existing garage. And you can also see that in the picture, the existing garage as it relates to the house behind it.
Yep.
Onondaga goes up on a hill. It's a sharp, I walk it every day. It's a heart rate gets up to about 98 going up that hill. And the the house is presently 18 foot, 2.5 inches in height, and 16 feet is a cap without a special use permit. And so that's one of the questions, that's one of the requests that we have here today. The applicant proposes to use the same footprint on the first floor of the garage, but they intend to cantilever the second floor by going 2 feet out on the rear, all sides. So we're looking for an additional 2 feet of relief from the rear in the left side yard setback. The proposal adds an additional 6 feet in height to the garage to bring the height to a total of 23 feet 11 inches, requiring 6 foot 1 inches of relief, along with a special use permit, because under the ordinance, if you're over 15.5 feet, you have to ask for the special use permit under 7.3 of the zoning ordinance. Like I said, the applicant's seeking 260 square feet of floor area relief, not the 900 square feet. I think that was just a typo. And we could have got that as modification, but since we're asking for a bunch of stuff, as you know, you can't bifurcate the request, so that's why we brought that before the board.
Appreciate that.
Bedroom counts going from 4 to 6 bedrooms, requiring a special use permit. There's some objective standards. You have to have 300 square feet per bedroom, which we do have. There's 2 spaces in the garage, plus there's more than 4 spaces outside the garage. And if you look at the overhead that you previously saw, you could actually do a 3-point turn if you wanted to pull out in a forward direction on that lot. It's a pretty wide lot, and it's not even paved all the way. But there's plenty of room for probably 10 cars there. The hardscape, maximum hardscape is 26%. On the plan, I'd like to point out there was a typo on that cover sheet of the plan. I think it said the hardscape is, I think it said 22. It's actually the 26 is the actual number. That was just a typo on that first page. So maximum hardscape is 26%. Existing is 27.2%, so it's already over. And we're looking for 29% because of the stairwell going up to the second floor in the deck. So that's why we're looking for the extra square foot of hardscape coverage. I do have Peter Bosco here that put the plans together. He can quickly walk you through the plans and then answer any questions that you may have, unless you have any for me. And I also have the applicants here, if you have any questions for them.
Staff, anything you want to add?
Not right now.
Okay. Doc?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, you have too many variances, you know that, Jack. Over here, what's the distance there? I can't pick it up on the plans that we have here, to the sideline.
The side yard,
The side yard, you're on the left side, over here, Jack.
Yep.
Yeah, the existing is, let's see, it's 15.3 is the rear, and the side is 6.10, 6 feet 10 inches.
Okay. No, well, you probably know with the fire regulations, you're going up to the second story now, so that's a little tight for them to, get
But
around.
we're keeping
over
the
there.
first floor, we're not doing anything on the first, that's not expanding, it's just the second floor we're cantilevering. We're not going out on the ground level. It's just on the second floor where we're gonna go out by 2 feet.
Yeah, but the point being, in terms of the fire departments would like to have more space for ladder access, et cetera, to get up to that second floor. But in any case, why, the structure's already where it is, so we can't do
The
much
egress-
about that. But
The egress windows on that, are on the south. The egress windows are on the south and on
Yeah.
the north side of the building.
No, which is great, which is great.
The reference being made is creating the angle for a ladder to get beyond a certain point. You have to be so many feet away from the house to safely create the angle for a ladder.
Yeah, my son's a fireman.
That's what we're looking at. So that's the question.
But you know, Jack, I'm a hard nose here, and once you have a whole group of variances, I mean, it's a very nice property and very nice concept, and I'm sure you've thought of doing this other ways that are, I guess, almost a sure thing, but to request this, to expand the bedrooms, unless there's some hardship I don't know about, I mean, you got, what, six variances you're asking for? I mean, all these rules have been created over the last 40 years, you know, so. But in any case, you can tell I'm a little bit uneasy about, you know, how about, I don't want to give you any ideas, but in any case, there are other ways to do it. But
Yeah, we couldn't, I mean, like you said, they did change the rules a little bit. We don't have to ask for the least relief necessary anymore. They removed that off the table. And we could have done this another way. We could have connected this building to the existing structure, and then we wouldn't need height relief. We could have, and then we could have made it if you're looking for a true ADU, they don't even consider FAR.
Right.
We don't want an ADU. We just want we just want to have 2 more
yeah,
bedrooms.
no, I understand that, but once you get into this whole series of variances, maybe.
That's why we're here.
I'm aware of that. But it just, there are other ways of doing it without so many variances. I guess that's another way for me to look at it, but, you know, I admit I'm old-fashioned.
No, the reason why I brought that point up is if we did connect it, then we could actually go taller. So by not connecting it and keeping it lower in an accessory structure, we're actually having less of an impact on the neighborhood.
Good point.
And it's more in scale with the existing house
The existing house, and
and other structures in the
it's
neighborhood.
lower than we could put there if we connected it to the house, thereby, keeping that house that's above, we're not gonna affect their view. Even though view's not a right, we're still considering, and we had a conversation with the neighbor, our clients here, and they're fine with what we're doing there. Because they know we're not going up to the full height, we're just going up a few more feet on the garage rather than bringing it to the same height of the existing house by connecting it.
Doc, you said?
So,
Tom?
I am interested in the hardship. I want to understand beyond what you put on paper, Jack, which basically recites what the language is for what it is. What exactly is the hardship here that you're seeking to resolve?
we're just looking for the reasonable enjoyment of, it's more than a mere inconvenience. If we can't do that, if we would have, if we had to connect the garage to the house, we'd have to, it would be a heavier lift than just putting the 2 bedrooms over the garage. So that's certainly more than a mere inconvenience.
I'm sorry, there's normally a narrative that comes and says, look, we're looking for 2 additional bedrooms for a particular purpose.
They have a large family. It's a summer home. They don't live here. They close the house up every year, but they do have a lot. They can come in and tell you how many kids they have, but they fill the house up in the summer. And in the winter, they want to keep the garage because they store their car there. They have a car they keep here all year round when they go back to Illinois, and they keep the car in the garage in the winter. But they do have, and that's slab on grade. There's no basement there. So they use part of the garage for storage. They have people that come down and visit in the summer, their family, and they can tell you about that. And that's the reason for the 2 extra bedrooms.
Okay. And can you tell, I couldn't tell from the drawing, that drawing right there, is there a partition between those?
Yes.
There is, because it's not,
There's two separate,
there are 2 separate bedrooms, correct?
they
Yeah,
share,
That's
share
a roof,
shop- they
that
share
number
a
one
shower.
refers to the roof line, though, doesn't it?
Excuse me?
That number one refers to the roof line.
The roof line runs perpendicular to the center wall.
Right, okay.
Yeah, north,
Yeah,
south.
okay.
But there's a center partition, but they share a shower.
I see that, yep, no kitchen.
No kitchen.
Okay.
No. They're just purely bedrooms.
That's it for now, thank you.
Steve?
Hey, guys. So I appreciate what you're trying to do here. I can see that, you know, you could have gone a different way and asked for less variances, and I think, in my opinion, which is just me, it probably would have been a less appealing design. It would have been more expensive. It would have been a heavier lift. I can see the house is a raised ranch. It's on slab to add space. Now you're going to ask me for a height variance for the house because you can't go over 30, and to put bedrooms above the house, you're going to have to get significantly taller than it is. So I understand what you're doing there. I also noted the fire stuff because I like that too. I'm passionate about it. And I saw on your left-hand elevation, if we can get that up, it was the west elevation. There you go. You've got 3 windows there, and they're all servicing bathrooms. So they're not bedrooms. They don't have to be egress windows. Obviously, the center one is not. The other 2, I was trying to do some quick math on them. They might be, so you may want to look into making those slightly shorter. But I don't think it's a problem to have people jump out of a bathroom window in case of a fire. You have egress windows on the front and the back, which is where they'll be assessed for the fire and the deck. So I don't have a huge problem with the height. I could say a lot about some of the other setback variances, but it seems to me you're not increasing, well, in some of them you are, but you're not getting any closer to the lot line is what I'm trying to say. The building exists, the footprint exists. You're not asking to make it bigger and get closer to the lot lines, so I don't have a particular problem with this. I see the 4% hardscape variance for the stairs. That makes sense. You got to be able to get people up there. And if you want to still park a car in the garage, they're going to have to go up from outside. So I don't have any particular problems with it. I just wanted to make that note about the windows. I'm fine with you having egress windows in the bathroom too, by the way.
Steph, do you have anything you want to add?
I think it was a 3% variance on the hardscape. I think that was another typo. I think it's 3 rather than 4. 26 was the max, and we're looking for 29.
Mr. McGreen, we can confirm our math between here and zoning, just to make sure with regard to the FAR and the hardscape variance.
Steph, anything to add? Okay. Any butters, public neighbors want to say something? No? I didn't have a lot of problems with this. These are not rentals. Okay, you willing to restrict that? Thank you. My other question is the height variance. Does that include the height include the pergola, or is that to the roof line? I knew that. I just wanted to ask it for the record. So I asked things that people at home are asking. It's to the roof line. All right. So I think my questions have been satisfied. I don't have a lot of problem with this at all. So, Doc, redirect? Tom?
No, you had a chance to review the staff memo, Jack. If you had to reduce the height of the building to 16 feet to conform, is that a problem? Tell me about that. Tell me what happens if you have to conform.
Architecturally, we have to get that down to 16 feet, we have to drop the side walls to 5 feet and then create like dormers for where the windows are. And what that would do is pull in the bedrooms quite tight obviously because of the slope of the roof, walking through along those two sides. We could change the pitch if you get the height down a little bit, but it's not possible to get to 16 feet.
Okay. So if you change the pitch, when you say you could change the pitch a bit, what are you talking about?
My question ponying that is, what would the new pitch be in relation to the home?
You're probably half of what the existing house is.
Can you use the microphone, because those people can't hear what you're saying, please? Thank you.
It would probably be half of the existing roof pitch of the existing house, which architecturally, it just would look a little odd or off compared to the rest of the neighborhood. I mean, there's a lot of character to the neighborhood. There's, a lot of cottage-style houses that are there, and that's what this garage and bedroom addition was supposed to replicate, it more of a cottage style. We could work to get we could work to drop it, but not the 16 feet. I'm sure we could not make that.
Okay. And then I guess from my vantage point, if the applicant is prepared to deed restrict for no rental on that garage, Jack, then I think that's a fair concession to make in exchange for the amount of relief that they're looking for. And I'd be prepared to support that.
Steve?
But if it's deed restricted, it carries with the land going forward. That's all I'm saying. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I got that number for you. I'm pretty sure, is our minimum slope 4, or minimum roof pitch?
The 412 pitch is the minimum if you want to go up to the maximum height.
So you're 24 feet deep, that's 12 and 12. It's a 6.5 pitch now. If you go down to 4, it's 1.5 feet. It's negligible. You've heard my colleagues would like to see this deed restricted, non-rentals. I would not like that. I'll vote yes either way, but as a little aside to my colleagues here, perhaps we could ask them to deed restrict it not to be rented for a period less than 1 year, as opposed to no rentals. I'll let you guys mull that. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay. All right, staff, you have nothing else to add?
So are we striking both 1 and 3?
We have a sidebar.
1 and 3, yeah, sorry. If the board is inclined to approve this application, we suggest that you strike, the board strikes conditions 1 and 3.
Yep. That was going to, when we got to that part, that was going to be my question. You guys set over there? All right. Anything we need to know? All right. Hate to find out later. Okay. Anything you guys want to add?
That completes our presentation.
Thank you. And thank you, folks, for coming. Appreciate it. So, do I have a motion?
Let's see, he's got it, take it, because you know where I'm going, right?
I think I do, Jack. I think I do. Mr. Chairman, I want to move that for project summary, Nero Tax Assessor's Plat N-R Lot 283, that the application is deemed complete and in conformance with the town's comprehensive plan.
Do I have a seconded on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That is unanimous.
And, Mr. Chairman, before I make this motion, I want to say that still think it's in the same zip code. If this is a deed restricted on 12-month rentals, then I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So,
I'm not as comfortable, but I would move with my board.
okay. So for Mr. Chairman, I would move for project summary Nero, tax assessor's plat N-R, lot 283, 80 Onondaga Road, Onondaga, thank you. That the board approve the relief that's been requested, including that's listed on page 2 of the summary. Do I have to list all of those as
No,
part of the
but
motion?
I'd ask you to change, trying to, I heard a conversation with the land court judge, and he's looking to try to, and we really work hard to make our decisions legal decisions and not like, Freddie John making a deal in the back room, but we don't approve or disapprove. We make recommendations, positive or negatively, to the zoning board. So it would be a
So I'm happy to change it to a recommendation as to approval. And then, again, with the same language, moving to relief requested that's identified on page 2, including the conditions that are identified on page 3, striking numbers 1 and 3, and with a notation that, that the applicant has indicated that they will work to reduce the slope line on the roof line to bring it more in conformance with the height of, well, not with the height, but with the height standard. Thank you. So that's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
And you included the fact that they will deed restrict it to 1
Deed
year.
restricted for 1 year, I'm sorry, and that the units over the garage would be deed restricted for 1 year, for a 1-year rental, pardon me.
All right. Do I have a second?
We need you, Steve.
Are you looking at me? Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Negative.
Opposed? 3 in favor, 1 opposed. Good luck, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My pleasure. Thank you. Okay. So this begins the next chapter of our meeting. This is a pre-application review. Again, I know I've been receiving all sorts of emails from people in reference to this. This is not a hearing. This isn't even a workshop. This is just a conversation, but if there are people here that would like to speak to the issue, I will allow them to do so. But I do want you to understand, it is not a hearing, and it is not a workshop. So, that said, hey, welcome. Long time no see. Alma looks good on you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm trying to wear it before the Labor Day.
Is it just hanging in there tight?
One last time.
I hear you. So, the owner is NJPH 2 LLC and Paul Massey Chevrolet South. We request a pre-application review for a major land development plan proposed on Assessor's Plat NA lots 48-2 and 48-1. Lot 48-1 is 137,000, give or take, 3.16 acres, and currently supports a commercial structure, Cumberland Farms. Lot 48-2 is 156,000 or 3.6 and is currently vacant. Both lots are approximately 6.7 acres. I yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My pleasure.
Patrick Doherty on behalf of the applicant. It's my pleasure to be here representing the Massey family, who I've been involved with on this project now for a year. I want to just make a couple of comments in preparation for not only yourselves but the public. This is a very, very challenging site. The reason this is the 4th potential project that I've been involved in this on this particular one, and none of them have gotten to this stage. I'm aware of 2 other ones as well that had come before the town, and they did not pass muster. This does not require any zoning relief other than a special use permit. The town council, when they passed the ordinance eons ago, included the BB area and the use table to allow for automobile dealerships. We will also be seeking, in conformance with the special use standards, we'll also be seeking as accessory uses automobile repair and parts and whatnot. So we've got extensive plans going on, but let me just give you a little bit about the information about the constraints of the site. Every project that has been proposed on this site has had two major concerns, and that is soils and sewer. Sewer's capacity is in excess over here where we're talking about, and it's killed a bunch of projects, and it's stopped a lot of other development plans in the entire north end, and for good reason. This is a site that has been proposed for affordable housing, but that can't be done because there's no sewer capacity to meet the demands of what a comprehensive permit for affordable housing would do. In addition, mixed use has been proposed over here. There have been a number of other projects, the barnuminiums or the man caves, as they called them when they were before the town council, seeking some zone changes. The big problem is if you look towards the right portion of the graphic at the back, everyone can picture the approach to the Jamestown Bridge along 138. And you know those big rock walls that were blasted out and drilled. Every bit of that rock is stored on that site underneath the grade. In the rear of the property, there's approximately 15 feet of depth of boulders that are bigger than this table, probably bigger than the corner table that you're at with drill holes. They buried the large stuff in the back to a depth of approximately 15 feet. The smaller stuff that came when they were shoveling out the piles ended up to a depth of about 7.5 feet in the front portion of the project, closer to Boston Neck Road. So this is an extremely challenging site to develop for any use. I believe that the Massey proposal is going to be a very doable and workable one, simply because it's not going to create much demand on the sewers. We're not going to necessarily be seeking any relief for that. We're entitled to a hookup. The operations that will be done on there, as you know, any kind of car washing or things like that, they will be reusing that water. It will be filtered and reused on site. In addition to that, I have Eric Prevey, the project engineer from Dupree Engineering, which I think is the best engineering outfit in the state, if not New England. We've had a year's worth of work and due diligence into this project thus far. We have done geotech engineering. We have looked at the soils. We have done environmental, phase 1, phase 2. We've gone through that. The site is clean. It's developable. And we believe that the use that we're going to put forth for this is something that will add value to the town. It'll add jobs to the town, bring in tax revenue to the town, and it won't tax the sewer system or anything else. You won't hear it here tonight, but you probably noticed, if you've traveled up and down Boston Neck Road, the rubber tubes going across it right now. We're in the midst of our traffic engineering studies, because I'm sure that will be a concern of the board. And we're obviously here to hear and address any concerns that you have going forward as we are in the process of preparing our formal application to move forward on this. It is a major land development. We're requiring special use permit. The standards are pretty clear and straightforward. We're fully prepared to meet all of those and prove that we can meet all those. And we also are fully aware, and Mr. Prevey is exceptional at explaining this as well, that we have to prove to the board, and also in conformance to the building official and the various state officials and agencies involved, we're not going to increase any net runoff from the property. There won't be any clear cutting because there's nothing on it right now. So we're not taking down any mature trees that are soaking up some of the groundwater and maintaining the site as dry. There's a very, very, very tiny sliver of a wetlands area on one of the portions. Mr. Prevey will explain that. What we're looking to do here is a nice, clean project, and I can tell you one thing, for working for a year with the Massey family, extensive meetings, we've hired a team of top experts, top professionals. We've got landscape architects engaged in the design plans on this thing now as well. We have engineering. We've got Drew Bourne here, who's going to be the owner's rep and project manager. The Massey family has a commitment to each and every community in which it does business to listen to the concerns and to try and make it a project that is going to be a gem and a proud element of the business community here in the town. They have a great work ethic. They have great ethics in general, and it's a pleasure to be here representing them. Because this is a conditionally permitted use, we're subject to the special use permit, and also we're looking at, the major plan or major land development review. But I believe that this is a very viable project. It's also probably the only thing that can get built here, I believe, just because of the financial constraints that the condition of the property presents to any potential development. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Prevey, who can give you an overview of the project, what we're looking at doing here, and we're happy to answer any kind of questions you may have.
Sounds good.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Eric Prevey. I'm a registered professional engineer with Tapreed Engineering. Office is at 2 Stafford Court in Cranston, Rhode Island. Coming before you tonight at the property at 1141 Boston Neck Road. It's Assessor's Plat NA lots 48-1 and 48-2. As you had mentioned, it's approximately 6.76 acres combined. It is Zone BB, general business. Total combined frontage along Boston Neck Road is about 426 feet. So there's a large amount of frontage along Boston Neck Road, also known as Rhode Island Route 1A.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Sure.
I'm sorry. And I was going to save this, but I'm going to, because you've said it again. So you guys are looking at, as part of this project, the whole 6.7 acres as the project.
Yes. May I add something that I omitted from my earlier remarks through inadvertence? This project is also contingent upon an administrative subdivision of the rear portion behind Cumberland Farms to merge the lot into one. It would be remaining fully conforming, the lot that is set forth there, and we can comply with all the subdivision regs.
So that's my question. So you're going to combine these two lots?
Well, the back portion, just the undeveloped portion of the lot to the rear of the Cumberland Farms would be merged into the lot that is going to be the main.
And the Cumberland Farms will remain
everything that is
compliant?
there will be fully compliant. Frontage, lot area, setbacks, everything.
So just trying to set the stage for your conversation. So you're going to own both properties?
It'll be one. At the closing, it will be one property.
It will be one property. Okay. Thank you.
As mentioned, this is formerly the driving range quite a few years ago. Open grass fields. Currently, the portion, the southwest portion is leased by Cumberland Farms. That's approximately a 1.1 acre is the leased area for the Cumberland Farms in the front. The Cumberland Farms does have 2 curb cuts. I'm actually the design engineer of record for that one as well. I came before the planning board at that time for the Cumberland Farms as well. But as part of those conditions as well was that there would only be 3 total curb cuts. So even though there was 2 on Cumberland Farms, only 1 is allowed on the remainder of this large piece. So that's something that I'll talk about when I get into the proposed afterwards. Surrounding areas, surrounding uses as commercial uses along the eastern side of Boston Neck Road. Across the street is the school. You have the Montessori School across the street on the western side. Also, you have the park. You have the fire stations across the street as well. Topography, just to kind of give you a general, again, we're at a pre-application stage, much more conceptual, but I want to at least paint the picture for you here. Goes from west to east, so looking left to right on this page here. So I noted in the staff report, one of the items is talking about any drainage tie-ins to the state. We're not envisioning tying into the state drainage at all. It all comes, so because it goes from west to east, we'll be able to handle it on site and be discharging on site. We're not tying into the state drainage system as well. Being proposed is a automotive dealership. The primary building you can see is the darker gray in the upper left corner, the northwest corner there. Has a 24,030 square foot footprint. That's the main building, sales, service. There's a secondary building that's just to the east of that. You can see it's a smaller rectangle building to the east of the primary building, 1,344 square feet, and that's an ancillary building more for like car detailing and finish work and things like that. We're proposing one new curb cut on Boston Neck Road. Again, the previous approval only allowed for one more. We've cited that on site. There are cross easements.
You have a laser pointer, by the way.
I sure do, thank you.
That will help
It's
you.
probably a lot better than me just pointing from over here, huh? Oops. There we go. So there's the location of the new curb cut in this area. As part of the approvals, though, one of the important things was the interconnectivity of these as well. There is a cross easement that's located in the front of the Cumberland Farms right here. And so that allows for access for this parcel here to be using these other curb cuts as well. That was important to have secondary egress to the parcels. And also, I think as anybody would kind of know in these joint situations, water seeks the lowest level. So if if there's a queue here, I can go here and I can get out quicker. If I want to take the right turn and go out, and we'll have full traffic testimony at the next stage, but if there's a car queue up here, I can move to the next one. I can take my right-hand turn instead of being stuck by somebody looking to take a left-hand turn there. As far as parking on site, we have 19 customer and employee parking spaces in the front, so that's located right here. Again, the primary building's located right here. Inventory parking is in the rear, back here, behind the Cumberland Farms building in the rear here, and behind the primary building as well. We have, what do we have out here? We have, we have 24 tandem spaces right here at the top. So that's just kind of a double space, double deep there. So that would allow for 48 parking spaces there. And we have 316 inventory spaces out here as well. All of these parking spaces have a traditional 24-foot aisle, as you're used to seeing kind of in a typical parking lot configuration. The front of the building was aligned. We were looking at it and aligned along the front of Cumberland Farms. Again, from a visual, that's approximately 138 feet off the property line. There is a shoulder, so about 150 feet from the actual road. If I was driving along the road, that building is 150 feet off that building. Again, in line with the Cumberland Farms. And also you can see where the CVS is just to the south here, somewhat in line. So they're all kind of keeping the same setback from Route 1A there as well. This area is serviced by municipal water and sewer. There's a sewer force main in the shoulder. We would be tying into that. Again, we're just at the pre-application stage. We do understand we have many stages to go. We wanted to introduce this project. Stormwater proposed on-site using, right here, we've got an underground drainage system that we'll be proposing on-site. Again, we need this area as an inventory parking spaces out here as well. So we'll be taking, and we'll having a series of catch basins and closed drainage pipe network to get to underground infiltration and be able to store and meter it back out to pre-development levels. All of those details will be provided at the next stage. We'll provide the comprehensive stormwater calculations that go with that as well. That was my general summary. What I did want to remind, and Mr. Chairman, you did an excellent job also reminding, this is the pre-app conceptual stage. This is the beginning. We're looking to get feedback. We have a lot of stages to go, and if there are people here that are interested, there are other times that we'll be here for as well. We have a master plan stage. We have a preliminary, or the master plan unified combined, preliminary plan stages. There'll be many other meetings for folks to attend and ask questions as well. This is not, I just want to also clarify that this is not, we're hoping for an approval tonight and we're building tomorrow. Not at all. This is first step in a long stage along the way. We need a DOT physical alteration permit. So the state, because Boston Neck Road is a state road, we need to apply to the Department of Transportation for a physical alteration permit for the curb cut there. We do need to go to CRMC2, Coastal Resources Management Council. We'll need a stormwater, freshwater wetland, freshwater in the vicinity of the coast. They will also be reviewing stormwater and ensuring that we're meeting that. We will be back before this board for the special use permit through the unified development. Again, we have many folks that'll be providing much more materials at the next stage. We have a traffic engineer. We'll have lighting details. We'll have landscaping details. We'll have more on the architecture of the building. much more stormwater details. So many more details to come and to ensure that everybody's feeling comfortable with it. This is our introduction and wanted to get feedback from you tonight.
Great.
So, thank you.
Do you want to add anything?
No, I think I'm all set on that one.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Doc?
Yeah, the wetlands on the property that you mentioned earlier, whereabouts are
Yeah,
they?
sorry, I missed kind of a key. Yep. So the wetlands are on the eastern side here. So the way that you have this large kind of where the driving range was, it's all, I'm not going to say level because it's not level, but it's flat as it goes from west to east. It's an open field like you would expect from a driving range. But then it does fall off, in the back portion over here. So it does, the slope is more substantial in the back over there. At the base of that slope, there is a wetland that's located over here. So we have demarcated that on there. We have shown where the buffers will be. We do understand that we need to provide a CRMC preliminary determination as well and verify that edge. But those buffers right there, we're not proposing to go into any of the coastal buffers, and CRMC will verify that with a permit in the future as well. So the portion that we're talking about, this sliver right here, this northeastern corner, is where the discrepancy in the narrative. The narrative said that there is no on-site wetlands. There is a slight corner in the northeast right here. It just chops off that northeast corner over there. So slight discrepancy from what the narrative said.
Anything else? Tom?
I have a couple things. Would you, you went over fairly quickly the easement that covers to get you across to the Cumberland Farms piece. Could you go through that again?
Sure.
So we can understand how that works?
Sure. So when the subdivision and when the site plan was done, it was important that there was, again, only a total of 3 total curb cuts on here. So it was put in place that there are cross easements on here. So the front portion right here, I'm trying to go, obviously with the laser pointer, it's difficult. So it goes for the entire distance in front of the, where the fuel pumps are. There's an aisle in front of the fuel pumps there. That entire area is within the easement. So folks on this parcel here have access to go even to this secondary means of access down here, the more southern one, they can even go to that. That is the rights. This parcel has the rights to use either of these egresses as well, and vice versa. So there was no need for a connection previously because there was no second user. But when that second user comes in, there is an interconnection here. Again, so folks do not need to go out onto Boston Neck Road if they need to come and use the fuel. There'll be an interconnection here. They can stay off of Boston Neck Road. The cross easement also goes the other way as well, that they're allowed to use the other way as well. So,
And there's no need for any further agreement with Cumberland Farms in order to,
it's already executed. That easement was executed as part of the subdivision, and it was something that they were aware when they developed the property. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't look at it.
This area right here is what?
Right now, that's we're showing that as a non-developed area, a non-impervious. So it'll be grass. We're still developing what that's going to be, but it's not proposed to be asphalt. It's not proposed to be impervious surface. We'll have some more details on that. That's a pervious area. We might spruce it up with some amenities and such.
Well, if you're looking for feedback, part of my feedback would be do a nice job sprucing it up. There is obviously...
We do have John Carter working on that as we speak right now to come up with a nice design plan for that.
Good. How many acres of pavement? How many acres of pavement have been added here?
I don't have that exact calculation.
But we are talking acres, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
And while the write-up refers to this permission to tie into the state system, I thought I heard you say your plan now is not to do that. Is that correct?
We're not.
What I'm trying to figure out is, at a fairly high level tonight, don't need to get into detail, is how you plan to retain that water and where it's going to go after it's been retained. And if you're designing it to a 100-year storm or a 10-year storm, what are you designing it to?
So Yeah, it is for underground. So it would be, there would be a closed, so as you would, on a normal parking lot, you have catch basins that are going to go to the pipe network and infiltrate it on site. So there'll be an underground system here that's going to meter it to pre-development levels for 2 through 100-year storm. That's our requirement. State law is to meter out to pre-development conditions for the 2 through the 100-year storm. So it needs to be developed that. So again, if there's 30 cubic feet per second coming off it in pre-development, post-development, it's going to be 30 or less. We are required to hold it and size that system to hold that on site, meter it out to pre-development levels.
Okay, but big picture-wise, what does the infrastructure look like? I'm not asking you to get into detail, but what is, it's hard to envision acres of pavement all being handled underneath without understanding what's underneath it.
Sure.
Big
yeah.
picture-wise.
So we haven't specified the exact products yet, but it's no different than any plaza that you would see us, Stop and Shop or any plaza. Most of those, real estate is so valuable that they don't, the value of the real estate to have the parking is more valuable than the, if you needed an above-ground detention system, if you had bioretention areas or typical above-ground systems, the value of that real estate is much more important. So people move it to an underground system. So they're large, either Coltec chambers. Coltec is one of the names. Stormtex, those half moons, those yellow half moons you're used to seeing. So they hold underneath the ground. So it'll be below the parking surface. So from surface, it would look like regular parking. Underneath the surface are these large half moons that are holding that water and then metering it back out. Again, it'll be infiltrating and also metering back out to pre-development
So
levels.
it's a closed system, and there's no route in terms of off-site movement of stormwater. It's all going to be infiltrated on the site, and there will be no exit off-site.
It will be brought to pre-development levels. So it will be partially infiltrated on site, and then it'll also be able to keep moving to what and released at the same of the pre-development levels.
Okay, and so where would that, where generally would you be?
To the eastern side. Again, that's where the watershed, we also can't change watersheds.
No, I understand. I understand.
So
Just trying to,
it would be on the eastern side over here. You can see this large area over here where there's room. So we would have typically like a flared end, an open pipe flared end that has riprap stone. And then that would also have a nice long level spreader. So it's very long so that it brings it back to sheet flow. Because we don't want to have it, a 24-inch pipe come in with erosive flows. So we end up bringing it down. We have riprap aprons, and then we have level spreaders that'll take it and spread it out so it's going to pre-development as well. Matter of fact, the Cumberland Farms right here has similar. So it treats some of it on site. It does have an above ground kind of stormwater system here, but it does have the outlet that comes, there's an outlet that comes through the back piece here, and there's a flared end that's in this southeast portion here. Again, nothing that's proposed is where that the flared end is over in this corner, but similar. They had an outlet for where that went for anything that goes beyond that.
okay. And then finally, on the issue of lighting, presumably you're going to use lighting that would preclude light escaping upwards?
Right, yeah.
You are?
So typically, we'll look at it's dark sky compliant.
So-called dark sky compliant.
It has the cutoffs. I'm also, I'm aware of I'm looking at section 1210 of the zoning ordinance, which is the development standards that we're going to have to come with the special use permits. Development standards for motorcycle and/or automobile sales lots. That's one of the sections, actually, illumination. Light fixtures used to illuminate automobile sales lots shall be no higher than 14 feet above ground, shall reflect so that no visible light is not visible outside of the lot boundaries. So yes, we will put together as part of also the special use package, we'll put together point by point on how we meet all these development standards as well.
Be interested in seeing that as well. Thank you.
Yep.
Steve?
Hey, guys, thank you for your hard work on this, and thank you for the background about the Jamestown rubble being deposited there. Yeah, that's great local lore, and everybody knows I'm a builder. I actually built a house in Westerly where they had deposited a bunch of rubble from Route 1 when they expanded it onto the lot, and I didn't know about it until I started digging for a foundation. And I know it's cost prohibitive to try and put a lot of housing in there because you're going to have to excavate all of that and replace it with compactable fill, or you're going to have to do concrete pilings 30 feet. it gets crazy. So that helps me understand why this is a better fit than some of the other things. That I do a lot of comp permits. I do like them. But I see why this is a better fit than that now that I hear that, because it's expensive. I understand it's expensive. And I've seen those infiltration systems in person. Those pipes are enormous. You can walk through them. I mean, they'll hold a lot of water. I'm sure Mr. Privy will do a great job engineering it. I look forward to seeing it. Those are expensive too. There's a lot of infiltration going on there. So I guess my only question is, other than all that other, I got two things actually. One, when you come back, I don't think it's part of our code about lighting about these things, but I'd like you to propose a lights off time where the majority of the lighting is shut off at night, what time you're going to turn it back on, because obviously, even with it being contained within the bounds, you know, a light bounces off a windshield or something and wakes somebody up or keeps somebody up late. You're going to hear about it. I know there's not a bunch of houses around there or anything, but you never know. So I'd like to see that. And that little undeveloped so far area in front, we're going to get some Jeeps on some ramps. It's going to look cool. I'm just messing with you. You don't have to answer that. That's all I got, guys.
I have a couple of things. What's the depth to water? Have you guys figured that one out yet?
So water table actually is not the issue. I mean, it's as you'd imagine, so because
Because there's so much backfill.
Right, exactly. The natural slope goes from about where 1A is to, so the driving range was actually built up. So groundwater table is not the issue.
And to do a typical Rhode Island thing, I have an idea what's in that ground. Have fun. But prior to that, it was I'll be delicate, it was an auto body car storage field.
Junkyard.
Yes. So, you know, that's a Rhode Island thing. We go back to the entire history of a plot just to give directions to people. So, yeah, so the ground is an interesting history in and of itself.
Yeah, we have received approval on our Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's an interesting site, and I have no doubt. I also was looking at, you know, what are business hours in relation to light? I know you need security lighting, but for people that don't know, back here is industrial. That's zoned industrial back there. I do have a sensitivity, though, on the parking lot. We had another development on that road, made really strong recommendations from the knowledge that we possess as individuals and as a board on runoff and impacts to the backside. We were not successful, I'll leave it at that. And there are neighborhoods back there that are having water problems because of it. The thing that I would like to see is, if you could, just, you know, it's not a demand, this is just a conversation, but where the pitch is, and I'm not sure exactly where the slope is here because it is relatively flat, but where it makes sense, maybe it ends, and you see these in parking lots, supermarkets and everything, just a landscape island or something, just to, if you have a heavy storm and it's you know, you got the velocity going in the direction, at least it forms a barrier stop to slow the water down from coming off property. Am I making sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Mitigating sheet flow.
Yeah, you're mitigating the sheet flow. I didn't want to get into verbiage, but you'll see it. You know, people think it's done to look nice. It's done, one, so people don't run into lighting, but two, it is also to break up the sheet flow. And we have a situation there where we have problems. I think, you know, some of the concerns will be noise. I'm sure you're aware of that. Traffic is going to be a question, and traffic controls onto the street and off to the street. I live in the north end of town, and sometimes you bring a lunch, depending on what time of the day it is and what day it is, before you're going to get out into the street. Signage is also, I mean, it's a commercial area, but most of the signage is pretty benign up there. So I would just ask to keep that in mind. Landscaping, obviously, and the divides. The other question I had is, this easement up front here, we also see it where Rox is and Dunkin' Donuts. and then all the way to the pharmacy, Walgreens. Is this just within this lot, or is this continue up through these lots, and will you be opening these up?
They were just.
And that's not a negative, by the way.
They were just between each other, is what they were.
Just these, there's nothing.
So for instance, the
there's
Cumberland
nothing to-
Farms did not connect to the CVS as part of that approval to the south, and then there was nothing to keep going to the north. No,
Okay.
there wasn't. No.
I just know our emergency vehicles use that. And if there was the ability to connect those so that they could enter further off that light, but if it's not there, and I'm not asking you to do something, I just didn't know if you had looked into that.
It's under different ownership.
Yeah, I know, no, I'm just asking, was the easement put in there? Because when the other development was done, that was part of the development. I don't know if it extended. I'm just asking.
My recollection, again, it was many years when the Cumberland Farms was permitted, but my recollection was there was a large parcel that was zoned general business, similar to how when you do a residential subdivision, you put a stub there for the future, right? Same concept.
Yep.
The idea was if you have compatible uses of those folks that would want to use each other, rather than going back out onto Route 1A and coming down 150 feet and going back into Cumberland Farms because I need to get gas.
Right.
So if there was compatible uses, you can have the interconnection there.
Yep.
Nobody knew what the future was going to be, like who was, but so they left it there for that purpose.
Yeah, I'm not asking for it as a condition or anything.
Yep.
I was just kind of hoping that the easement up in the north end continued down just to allow that access, because I know our emergency vehicles use it, especially in the summer when that light backs up. It gets them around a lot of the traffic. So, but if it's not part of it, it's not part of it.
It's not part of it. The other thing you end up with is sometimes we see sometimes in some of these developments that at least with a roadway that has a regulated movement, once you get into a parallel road to a real roadway in a parking lot, it's a little bit more of a lawlessness where people kind of just do whatever they want.
That was delicately put.
So we like to keep some control on that as well. You don't want people just saying, I don't want to wait in that line, so I'm going to pull into Massey and I'm going to go all the way up and get the light.
And I have no doubt part of that
there's a happy
is there.
medium there of what you want to do.
Yeah. So, okay. Again, it was just a curiosity thing more than anything else.
You know,
So
there is one other point, too, that's a plus to having the parking easements as well, and that's for the purpose of refueling the vehicles and having them come in and out. They won't have to add to the local traffic on Boston Neck Road. They'll be just in and out between the two lots. So it's a bonus on that.
The other thing, too, and I'm not even sure how feasible, and maybe you can pick spots or something, but trying to reduce, even in the parking area, the impervious surface. If there's a way of reducing any of that, again, I'm not even sure how practical that is, but it's just something to consider.
Noted.
So, thanks. I think I've got all the stuff here. Redirect, Doc?
No, but you mentioned the pervious asphalt. It's something to consider. It's a big piece of asphalt. You know, in that parking lot. No, I think obviously it's a business proposal and it makes a lot of sense. But obviously there are a lot of steps before everything's in place and as the orange one says, it's a deal. Yeah, so, okay.
Tom?
I have nothing further.
Okay, Steve?
Sure. I look forward to seeing what Mr. Carter has for us for landscaping on this site. I hope you guys do a great job. I'm sure he will. He does a fantastic job. And as far as the pervious pavement goes, I just wanted to make a quick note. I'm sure Mr. Privy will let you know. But the problem with pervious pavement that most people run into, I've pitched several developments with it. Once we get to engineering, the engineers don't like it because what happens is it gums up and then it becomes impervious.
Right, you
So
have to
these
clean it.
underground infiltration systems are a far better option,
Oh,
which is,
no,
I'm
I'm
sure
not-
why he's pitching it over. I know, I just
I'm
wanted to
not
explain to
suggesting
Doc.
in lieu of, I'm saying in addition to.
Yes,
So,
but then again, it's
Yeah,
just going
you
to
have
make
to
it
maintain
harder
it.
to trap that water once it becomes
Yeah.
impervious, so.
Yeah.
I know my dad has a pervious driveway.
I have one too,
So-
and I got to blow it every couple of months. So, I have one question. and I'm sure you've tackled this, the opening for the access egress, I mean, most cars come in on car haulers. You got a swing here. Any idea of a turn lane? How is that going to work? I'm looking at, and I'm sure you guys have thought about it. If you haven't, you know, I'm thinking Sunday, you know, or Saturday in the middle of August, and somebody trying to make a turn here or something like that. And
So two parts on that. One is the internal, right? So what we have functioning within ourselves, we have done the turn lanes to make sure for where we can get around for
Yep.
access on like a vehicle loader, for instance. And that is an item, as mentioned, the traffic engineer is finalizing all the counts. Obviously, we need to get the summer counts, that's the most important time. And we'll ensure, and we're working through getting off of 1A. That's also something that we'll make sure we're going through and addressing further, so.
Okay, thanks.
It's kind of a two-part, right? How do I get off the road, and then when I'm off the road,
Yeah.
what do I do internal to my site? So,
Yeah, I figured you laid that out already. I'm just thinking of trying to get those haulers across and stuff, so. All right.
Not to be snarky, but watching cars unloaded out on the road is not a good idea. It's a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
we're not
do have
proposing
that,
to unload on Boston Neck Road.
No.
So
Yeah.
we will.
No, yeah, you're going to try to avoid it, but others have not avoided it.
Okay. Staff, anything you want to add? Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak? Come on up. All right. And again, folks, they're here to hear from you. Okay, so come on up. We don't bite. Oh, Jill has something. I'm sorry. Then Jill, believe me, if Jill usually has something, she lets me know. Jill, do you have something? Please.
The only thing I was going to say, I did make some observations. It sounds like the applicant, Mr. Previous, touched on most of them. I was unaware of the subdivision, so I haven't seen any materials on that. So when that comes in, and everything else, I think we either covered or will be covered when they submit their information for the next phase.
Okay, thank you. I apologize.
Oh, one other thing I just mentioned, there is an ASSF, which you show on your plan. They do show, so that is also subject to CRMC jurisdiction.
Okay.
But if there is something that you'd like us to address, I'd love to hear about it right now so that we can be fully prepared when we do come back. Are there some other things that you said you think we're going to cover? Because I'd like to get them out on the table now.
Sure.
Ladies, hang on tight. Do you want to do that now, or you want to? No, you want to send a correspondence?
Well, I'll happily send a correspondence to Mr. Doherty, but like I said, I think these are things that you've already touched upon, and Mr. Previous said he would address. So, for instance, the fact that the site has the Jamestown Verrazano Bridge underneath it, and there's drainage proposed. It will be interesting, it will be a requirement to provide to us a confirmation that the drainage is not going to affect the groundwater, that any, hazardous water or waste that comes off of that impervious surface when it goes into these underground containers will not affect the groundwater underneath. I also saw that they're proposing as a pre-development to track the water off-site into the wetland in the back. Those things will need to be addressed. There's the Cumberland Farms issue. So I don't know as of yet, but when Cumberland Farms was, and I haven't seen any information on it, but when Cumberland Farms came in, one of the, that project was reviewed on the lot's entirety, so the lot coverage and that whole project was reviewed in the lot's entirety. So if the proposal is to subdivide off a portion of that, it would just be ensuring that Cumberland Farms doesn't become non-compliant, for instance, in its lot coverage. Right. And also the fact that Cumberland Farms has that easement that comes all the way down the south side of the property and dumps out onto the east, that would require, it's on its lot right now, but if it were to be subdivided, it would need to be an easement. I'm sure they're going to take care of that. That might be it for the moment.
Okay. Steve, I too have seen those systems, and I've actually put them in. And I I keep thinking of what's under that ground, and I'm like, good luck, boys. So, ladies, if you could.
Mark,
Yep.
just before, I've seen those systems. I haven't put them in, but I've been responsible for a university that's had acres of parking. And you got to be sure that what's built is capable of doing what you need it to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure, I'm just thinking, normally you dig in reasonable conditions. I think those are interesting. Ladies, if you could do us a favor and introduce yourselves, where you live, just so we have a relevance, and what points you'd like to make.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Jenkins, and I live at 4 Bayberry Road in Bonnet Shores, along with about 900 other homes. So we are directly downhill from where you're proposing to build this car dealership. We're in a really...
We're not proposing to build anything, by the way.
Well, where they are proposing
Thank
to
you.
you to build this car dealership. We are directly downhill in a fragile watershed area, so we're very concerned about the stormwater runoff. I know that you've talked a lot about mitigating that, but we also heard that mitigation was going to happen when the church parking lot was built.
Very sensitive to that.
And we're very concerned, you know, there have been times when there's a rainstorm and both evacuation routes out of our neighborhood are flooded. That means that we cannot evacuate. That is extraordinarily dangerous in a neighborhood that is made up of so many older folks and a fragile watershed. You know, and with a car dealership, we're not just talking about water, we're talking about gasoline and chemicals and carcinogens and everything that's in the water. So if that fancy drainage system fails, what else is coming downhill toward us? You know, we're incredibly concerned about that possibility and the danger to ourselves, our health, our safety, our homes. You know, so when I hear you say it's not surrounded by a bunch of neighbors, it is. There's 900 homes there, and we're directly adjacent to this. So please consider that. I think a figure that I'd like to share with you is that just 1 acre of paved surface can generate 27,000 gallons of runoff in a 1-inch rainstorm. And the source for that is the EPA. So that's a lot of water. If there is any failure in that system, you're talking about putting a lot of people in danger. I also want to talk about traffic congestion and community character. Auto sales and service facilities generate a lot more trips per acre than any small-scale commercial use would do. You know, yes, that's a commercial zone, but the businesses there are small. You know, they're not a high-volume business the way that this would be. And our neighborhood was just not designed for these heavy traffic volumes. So you're talking about adding delivery trucks, test drive traffic, customer vehicles on the already crowded roads. So that will fundamentally alter the road. It will make a lot more noise. It will make it a lot more dangerous to use the road for people who live there. If you go up and down that road pretty much any time of the day, what you'll see is a lot of people running, a lot of people riding their bicycles. There's a park there right across the Cristofaro Park where children play and ride their bicycles, and they go to and from their neighborhoods in Metatux and so forth to that park. So you're putting those children in danger. You know, I ride my bike there a lot too. You're putting me in danger by adding to the car traffic in such a dramatic way. I don't think that the zoning intent was to put a car dealership on such a small road. You know, most municipalities would place a high-intensity commercial use, like an auto dealership, along a major highway, not adjacent to a residential zone or to a watershed that's protected. So the American Planning Association emphasizes that local governments have a duty to avoid siting high-impact land uses in locations that increase environmental injustice or flood vulnerability, And this certainly does that. So this proposal contradicts best practices. I'd also like to bring up the comprehensive plan for the town of Narragansett. You've mentioned that several times tonight. Chapter 1 of the plan lays out a vision of stewardship where we protect Narragansett's scenic beauty, open spaces, and seaside residential character from inappropriate development. This proposal does not align with that vision. Instead, it risks undermining the very aesthetics and environmental values that define our town. So in conclusion, I want to say this might benefit a single business owner, but the cost is going to be borne by every resident in the neighborhood. That's me and my 900 neighbors in Bonnet Shores. We suffer for this in flooding, pollution, traffic, diminished quality of life. So I'm respectfully urging you to reject this application outright. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carolyn DeLeo, and I live at 201 Colonel John Gardner Road in Bonnet Shores. And my primary concerns, not that they don't align with what Melissa has said, but I really believe that we have to look at this from the environmental standpoint. What is behind, I'm not sure how to use this, what is behind this property is all wetlands. And currently, the wetlands are being fed by water that's coming down 1A as far north as Casey Farm. And that water and drainage is going behind that property. And as it continues through that property, it feeds into our spring in Bonnet Shores, which then connects through a culvert through a neighborhood of multiple homes, and then washes out into the West Quake Pond watershed, which now is in a very, very fragile state. We have serious issues there with Phragmites and backup and all sorts of other issues that are causing thousands of dollars of damage to homes in that area. My basic concern is that parking lot. That, to me, is a nightmare, because what you're looking at there, no matter how much you try to mitigate it, we saw what happened with the church. It's damaged properties. It flows down there like a waterfall, and it's awful. And this, I'm concerned, is going to do a similar. Not that they intend it to, but it's just a fact of what asphalt does. It does not absorb the water. There's no retention of it, and it's going to flow into that back neighborhood. And as it flows into that wetlands area, it has nowhere else to go but downstream. So projects like this really have to be evaluated with the serious environmental impact it has, not only on Bonnet Shores neighborhood, which is 900 homes, but what about everyone else living along that area? We have Cumberland Farms, we have the church, we have other properties along there. Their water is all going into that wetlands now. They do supposedly have mitigation, but who knows if it's even working? Because what we see when we have a good rainstorm, it's horrible. It's really horrible. My neighbors' properties have been damaged to where they're flooding their basements halfway up. And it's just going to continue because the water can't go out any faster. And all we're doing now is adding more water to the system. So what I'd ask is that you evaluate these kinds of applications for the environmental impact on a seaside community that's already been damaged and should not have to endure more damage. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. Gentlemen, that was the project that I referenced. You should take a good look at that. I don't want this to become that. So, anybody else like to speak? Oh, Doc?
Yeah, just thank you for that presentation. And this board do not support what went on down the street. You may know that. I just want to make sure it's public for people who don't know that. That was too much asphalt in that particular site, and the control, the runoff, et cetera, was also questionable.
Yeah. We recommended a very different setup, and it's very sensitive. Ladies, introduce yourselves.
Paulette Russo. I live at One Cross Road in Bonnet Shores, and I'm also the vice chair of the Land Trust in Bonnet Shores. I'm not going to repeat everything that Carolyn and Melissa said, but I want you to know that I agree with all of those points. There is no reason to think that asphalting acres of land is going to be beneficial to our community. We have enough water problems, the watershed, the whole, I'm not going to repeat it all, but it's a very serious concern. And it's not part of the fabric of what we want in our neighborhood. This is not Route 2. This is not Route 1. And I don't think a project like this would be appreciated by the neighbors and many people in Narragansett. Most people didn't think they would be able to speak tonight, so that's why a lot of people didn't come. But I would ask you to seriously consider not approving this. Thank you.
We let people speak.
First of all, I'm sorry about the sunglasses.
Don't ever apologize.
If I take them off, I can't see you. I did not bring the other glasses.
Can you use the microphone? Thank you.
Okay. I am Joan Fandetti. I also live in Bonnet Shores, and I agree with what every single woman has said. Thank you. And Paulette as well. My questions are the following, though. I do have some questions. I agree with everything they said, but what property actually abuts that easternmost side? Is it really only wetlands and a steep slope? Is there anything underneath that other than like the Muratori area that goes there? Do we know what actually exists where that sloping is, please? That would be a question for me. Outside the jurisdictional buffers and setbacks, does that satisfy DEM and CRMC approvals? And you are going to work on looking into that, so that made me happy. We are on the Land Trust. Melissa is on our council. That is why we are here tonight to talk on behalf of the community. Integrating existing drainage pattern area. Is there any questioning for underground drainage? And there was speak of that. So how much of that underground drainage will absorb the water and retain that water? Because honestly, I couldn't go to a gym. People couldn't go to work last year because the water coming from the community center, there's a little culvert there, that was all blocked off. The causeway and Lake Road, no one could go through there, so there was no way for fire or police to get in. And if they did, their cars would die because the water was so high. The batteries, they would just shut right down. So there are some serious issues in there. We're not trying to be picayune and not support this kind of development and bring things on, but honestly, it's a big ask for the community that lies below this, area. Thank you.
Thank you. Our pleasure. Anybody else like to speak? Okay. Guys, you've heard. So there are issues, and we did not approve the development there, but I would ask you to take a look at that and see why we're so sensitive about the runoff and the impacts of that runoff. Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Anybody else want to add anything? Any other questions?
Now I'm gonna.
Okay.
I was gonna make a joke.
There's nothing wrong with a
Staff?
little humor. Come on.
Staff, anything?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Just gonna ask if they were selling cars with snorkels. Snorkels. Yeah, see.
All right. So we have proposal. You guys set to go? You want to take a break or something? Tom, Steve?
I'm good.
You good? Doc?
I'm good.
Doc, you good?
Well, maybe after this one.
Okay. So we have a major land development, Boone Street, Capital LLC, Plat D, Lot 163, at 141 Boone Street. All right? And are we going to take these individually, or you want to take them as a whole? Long time no see. How you been?
Hi, I was just about to say the same thing. Good evening, Attorney Matthew Landry on behalf of the applicant. It is a pleasure to be in front of you again. I apparently took the summer off and back in front of you.
You want to take these one at a time or both?
I think it would make sense to take them together. I can do a high-level overview and
Yeah.
some of the background, but then address each individual development for the board's pleasure.
The staff good with that? I just thought at this stage, taking them both at the same time might be an effective way of doing it.
I'm fine with that. They are not contiguous sites, so they
No.
do have, while they have a lot of similarities, there are also some differences, so we can tackle that individually as we discuss
As we
them.
go through. Board, you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, for the record, Attorney Matthew Landry from the Office of Blish and Kavanaugh on behalf of the applicant, Boone Street Capital LLC. I'm joined by Michael Vickers, principal for Boone Street Capital. Mr. Vickers owns a couple of parcels along Boone Street, may be familiar with some of the existing developments. I will break these up into the two parcels, but some of the comments I have about Boone Street in general and some of the ideas and overall vision for Boone Street are applicable to both properties. The first one I'll address specifically is 141 Boone Street, which is the vacant parcel closest to Boone Street Market. A little bit of background here. I'm sure the board is aware that the town council has reviewed previously, as I'm sure this board has, an advisory role for a Boone Street special management district to address commercial, residential, mixed use. I think it even went to the council at one point a couple years back. The comprehensive plan has a lot of information and language relevant to the Boone Street area, as I'm sure you're aware. There is specific provisions dealing with top-of-shop style housing, which refers to commercial units on the ground floor, residential units on the top floor. Generally speaking, most of the residents will live above the shops that they operate on the commercial spaces, and mixed-use developments generally are designed that way, with the commercial on the ground floor, residential on the second floor. The 141 Boone Street in particular has a little bit of history. Mr. Vickers received zoning approval and an advisory recommendation from this board for a 20-room hotel on the site with a pool, restaurant, associated infrastructure improvements. The old commercial building has long been demolished and is long gone. That approval was back in 2020. It's since lapsed, and with obvious changes in the market, the vision for Boone Street, things have changed a bit, and Mr. Vickers can speak to that more specifically. But what we're looking at now is an 8-unit structure, a single building, 4 commercial units on the ground floor, 4 residential units on the second floor. Under the sewer policy in town, there were 2 units allocated to this parcel. We recently received approval from the town council for a sewer waiver, a waiver from the policy to allow all 8 of these units to be constructed. So it will have sewer access. We've received that approval just a month ago. Part of the reasoning that we were talking with the subcommittee and the council was that, again, the comp plan envisions top-of-shop style housing and mixed-use development along Boone Street. And this is going to be, hopefully, going to spur development in this type of construction along Boone Street. Mr. Vickers is familiar with the area. He obviously operates existing commercial and residential spaces on Boone Street, one of which is also proposed for redevelopment. He's familiar with the market, familiar with what type of commercial and residential spaces are viable in this area. And it's his vision to address and hopefully align with the vision and overall goals set forth in the comp plan. So again, this is far less intensive a use than what was originally approved with the 20-room hotel, particularly when it comes to sewer capacity. Oh, please.
Yeah, Matt, you keep talking about the ground level and the area above, both levels above, right, for residential?
That's correct.
This is a 3-story, you're
there's
talking 2.
There's 3 levels, so the ground floor level is commercial space.
Commercial,
And then the second and third floor is residential.
Second and third, okay. Yep.
That's correct. Thank you for
That's right.
clarifying that.
Yep, yep.
So that, I mean, that's the proposal. There's ample parking available on space. It would conform with all the zoning regulations. To that end, we did have a very informal discussion with Ms. Sabo and Attorney Solitro to discuss the review process for this, because Boone Street is in the BB commercial zoning district. It does not allow mixed use in this zoning district. There have been a number of changes, both locally and legislatively, to allow commercial and residential zoning districts. 452437, Attorney Craven could probably correct me on that. I think that's the correct citation. Was enacted within the last 2 years. It actually mandates households be allowed in commercial districts. We believe that this is allowed by right under that zoning legislation. The question really is going to be what standards of the local ordinance will apply to this development. It would obviously proceed as a major land development project. We certainly don't object to that. The question would be whether or not the multifamily zoning regulations would apply. I believe they can. I don't see why they wouldn't apply, and we would need to conform to those or ask for relief as necessary. You already have regulations in place. I think that's something that will require further review and discussion with council and Ms. Sabo. But it is our position that under that legislative enactment, this is a by right use that is allowed in every commercial zoning district in the state. Most recently, there was legislation passed that clarifies that provision even further under a different section of the Zoning Enabling Act that allows commercial uses by right and residential uses by right in commercial zoning districts. And that's to take effect in January. I believe the intent was to clarify this particular section of the legislation. So we're going in the direction where this is going to be allowed, is allowed by right and encourages mixed use in commercial zones, residential uses. We believe this aligns with it, but it will take some additional discussions and further planning with staff and this board, of course, to get some input on how that overall design will look. Because there's no existing building on here, adaptive reuse and those types of provisions won't necessarily apply to this. But we do believe it fits and certainly conforms to what the comp plan envisions for Boone Street. And this type of top-of-shop style housing is something that Mr. Vickers is familiar with. I don't want to jump off of this particular project. If there's any specifics about this, I'm happy to address them, but I can also move on to the next project that's similarly aligned, but some of the development review is a little bit different because there's an existing structure on that. Do you want me to move on, or should we?
Does anybody on the board have specific questions to this development?
I'm going to wait till they come both.
Okay, all right. I think the biggest concern is parking.
Certainly.
Where's the parking going to be? And so, but that will be with both of them anyway. So.
Great, and by this, the way this has been proposed, there's ample parking in excess of what is required under the regulations, both for commercial spaces and residential. So we don't anticipate needing relief from that, but obviously parking needs to be addressed and assessed, and we'll certainly come forward with that. 134 Boone Street, which is down by where the pub is across the street, there's an existing mixed-use building that's a legal non-conforming structure that was reconfigured back in, I think, 2018 or so. There's 2 existing residential units on the second floor and an existing commercial use. Mr. Vickers is proposing to similarly architecturally to redevelop that building into 7 units. Again, it's going to be 3 commercial units on the ground floor, 4 residential units on the second and third floor. 2 of those units are single-level units, so it gets a little bit confusing how those are laid out, but 2 of the units are on just 1 floor. They're not multi-level. The other 2 on the ends are over 2 floors, but there's only 4 residential units total. I just want to clarify that because there was a little bit of confusion when we submitted it for a waiver for the sewer policy. So there'll be 3 commercial units on the ground floor, second and third floor with residential. Mr. Vickers is proposing 2 LMI units as part of this. It's not a comp permit. It would be 2 residential deed-restricted units for low and moderate income housing. As a rental, the cap is 80% AMI, so that is currently the proposal. These would be rental units, again, deed-restricted, and that comes to 50% of what's being proposed. It could potentially come in as an adaptive reuse project. Potentially, we haven't evaluated all of that yet. I'm not sure it needs to, but because 50% of what is there is being converted into LMI housing, it could potentially come in as that. Otherwise, I see this coming in as a unified development review project, major land development. It would require relief from the legal nonconformity that exists. It's pre-existing. There's a right to the 2 existing units, but modifications would obviously require further review and discussion. There's also an encroachment into the front yard setback, so that would also need to be addressed. There are existing, and the staff report correctly acknowledges that there is an existing zoning approval for a shared parking situation between this lot and the lot immediately to the north that Mr. Vickers owns. The shared parking allows, obviously, a shared driveway and allocation of parking between the 2 parcels. We anticipate being 1 parking spot shy on this lot alone of what would be required under the regulations, but under the shared parking arrangement, there is more than ample parking for both uses. Again, we will need to address that and satisfy this board that the parking is sufficient. But both of those lots do have an existing approval for a shared parking arrangement based on what's there. The lot to the north is not proposed for redevelopment, but we would bring it in to the extent necessary to address parking issues. The infrastructure, stormwater, all of that would need to be obviously evaluated for the increased use. We don't believe there would be any issues with that. We're currently pending before the town council. I think it just got referred to the sewer subcommittee this week. So we expect to go back in front of the subcommittee for this parcel for a waiver from the policy. I don't want to be presumptuous about what will happen there, but we expect the same discussion to happen regarding what the comp plan envisions. Waivers from the sewer policy are necessary to fulfill the goals and ambitions of the comp plan, but that stands to be seen. It's obviously subject to tying into the sewer and doing that, but we're going through those steps now and expect to have an answer before any formal development proposal comes before you. So again, this one, I don't think we have the same issue with the mixed use and how that will go through a review process. I think we've got it covered. There's a couple of different ways we could come in, whether it's adaptive reuse or modifying the legal nonconformity or expansion of that. But again, we will work with council and staff to figure out the proper way to do that and make sure that everybody's comfortable with how this is proceeding. But I do anticipate that we could come in under that existing legislation. Again, the multifamily regulations would likely come into play, but we'll confer with staff and council. The 2 units affordable. Mike, do you have anything to add as to these 2 projects, high level?
Mike, if you could do into the mic. Thanks, appreciate it.
Just to, discuss the parking a little bit, how that works. Like, if you look at my existing 3-unit and 3 residential, 3 commercial today, and the existing building that's there, we don't have a parking problem. When we went through this at the beginning, our argument was to to try to convince the planning board of our concept was people in the bottom, 9 to 5, people up on top, go on 9 to 5, come home at night. Seems to work out well. I never get any complaints from the tenants that are currently there that there's a parking problem. I get a little overflow from the Boone Street Market people, and that causes a little trouble, but we're on top of that, trying to, police that. So the parking thing works pretty good. The other piece that works, I think works good for me is I don't rent, anything less than yearlies, or I'm not into the weekly rentals of things anymore. I used to be back in the day, just a lot of work for you know, what it was worth. But anyway, I think the buildings are designed so it deters a weekly or that kind of rental, because you have you know, commercial tenants in the bottom, and if you want a happy commercial tenant, you're not going to have, you know, in a commercial building like this, for you to get insurance, you can't have grills on the deck. You can't have, you know, there's all these things that deter that kind of weekly or student rental in these kind of designed buildings. So the mixed-use building for me seems to, you know, fit all the, you know, the things that the town's looking for, so.
Doc?
Affordable housing, you mentioned,
Why did I do it? Because Susan Bonanno and, no,
Yeah.
but she said, you know, it would be really nice if she's the affordable housing person. And I've talked to her a lot about
Yeah.
the thing, and so I've never done an affordable housing, so this is my first attempt.
there you go. But you're willing or able, or I don't know what word to use, in this particular site, the other site, no affordable.
Right, I didn't want to expand it any more than, I mean, I guess putting affordable on the other site, I could get maybe more units
Yeah.
because the parking goes down.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that, you know, there wasn't a requirement for me to do it, I didn't think, at the other site. And to put,
Yeah.
you know, more restrictions on your property is not something you want to do, obviously. But at the Smoothie Booty site across the street, I thought that, I've never done it before, you know, so I'm putting my feet
Yeah.
in the water, and
Yeah.
I don't, you know, everybody
Okay.
tells me, oh,
Give it a
affordable.
try.
But, you know, I owned a business, and I just remember back that all the people that came to us who were buying affordable, renting affordable, and they were, you know, white-collar workers and good, you know, employees that, you know, that's what I think back to now, you know, after everybody tells me, oh, don't do affordable.
Right.
But they were the middle management of our company, so.
Yeah. The other question, just curious, because you know, I know you're a very successful business person, and I had one little medical office, you know. You got 7 commercial offices or structures that you're going to put on Boone Street.
Mhm.
You have that much demand?
I do, believe it or not, you know, I get a lot of requests. So I was in the, you know, business world, and we rented large offices, 25 throughout the country, and there was a window, like it would be a 6 or 8 month, you know, ramp up to rent something. In these units, it's like the person needs the answer in 30 days.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of people that call me and say, hey, I'm an attorney, or I'm a land surveyor, or I'm a yoga studio, and I need a place within the next 60 days. So
Yeah.
it's not something that I can tell you, like, oh, I have 8 people lined up for
Yeah.
7 spots.
Yeah.
They just seem to come.
But the phone keeps ringing, which
Yeah,
is
the
great.
phone
No, that's
keeps
great.
ringing,
That's
so-
just an aside, yeah.
Yeah, and what
Yeah.
it does is, like, that helps, you know, that helps offset the cost of doing the affordable
Oh, yeah.
on top, you know, so.
Yeah.
And even if I showed you the numbers, and I'm sure you know the numbers, like, my financial planner tells me I'm an idiot for investing in here, because the cap rate is like negative going into this deal. So, but I'm retired, it's my hobby, my passion, I enjoy doing this kind of stuff, so, I don't know.
Good. Thank you. Tom?
I'm going to pass for a minute, Mark.
Steve?
Thank you for coming in. I want to commend you for doing the affordables when you don't have to, because like you said, I do know the numbers. Unfortunately, though it's my passion, it's not my hobby. I got to turn a profit at the end of the day, so I commend you on putting those 2 in, even though you don't have to. Maybe I'd like to see them split 1 in each building, but you got 2 out of 8. That's pretty good. I appreciate it. And I hope that you're successful with the commercial venture on the first floor. I know the nice thing about this, why I'd be in support of it, is there are plenty of commercial properties in the town which are being, how can I put this? They're not available for rent any longer. And when they were available for rent, people were being priced out, evicted, not having their leases renewed. So we're losing commercial spaces now to residential, to, right now, there's a building near me that sits vacant. But, so I commend you on that as well, and I like this. I think it's a great, way to get both more housing and some more commercial, businesses to come to town, or at the very least to remain in town, because I know they're losing spots. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I applaud. Mike, you'd always do a nice job. I'm a champion, as these guys know, and anybody who's listened to me, I am a champion of mixed use. If it was up to me, we'd already have an ordinance approved. It would be very simple, very easy. We did a workshop with the town council. It hasn't come back up yet with them. They've got other things on their mind, but I'm hoping it will come back. I think it does a number of things. One, it gives the property owner and the developer an additional cash flow to offset the cost of affordable with a capital A, the legal affordable, the two. But I also agree with you that these types of development are not short-term rentals. They are what I call affordable with a lowercase, or at least attainable. And I think that's what this will bring to that area. The other thing, too, is when you talk to the businesses on that street, i.e. the restaurants and stuff, I mean, Boone Street has its own attraction because of its uniqueness. But the other restaurant, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's like desolate. There's nobody lives there, at that end of the street. So to bring some, year-round, 24-hour, some actual living bodies, I'm trying to think of a nice way, breathing human beings on the street, I think would benefit everybody. And I agree with Steve, when you look at people trying to find commercial space in the town, it is extremely limited. I've said before, there are sections in town, especially the southern end of town, that really could benefit from this type of development, where you could attract commercial there and add housing. So I applaud you. Anybody have time? I know you wanted to redirect on it. You want to go?
If I could. So on the Smoothie Booty site right now, you said on the units of above, there was a different configuration in terms of having two units on the first floor, and then 2 units would be floors 2 through 3. And could you tell me why that is?
So we made the middle unit larger, so you could fit a 2-bedroom apartment on one floor. It was the only configuration. You couldn't fit 4 going across. You only had like an extra X amount of feet. So I would have liked to do 4 and made 2, but it just wouldn't, the footprint just wouldn't work out without going over the, boundaries.
And so, just curious, which would be the affordable and which would?
The middle 2.
The middle 2?
Yep.
So those are the ones that are on 2 floors or 1 floor?
1 floor.
1 floor.
So those are apartment style, and the other 2 would be townhouse style. Okay.
Okay. I saw on the commercial side, each one of them has a kind of a storage space in the back. What is that? Is it just literally storage?
Well,
what is that for?
The last time.
It's a pretty good chunk of space.
Yeah, the last time when we went through the process, we carved out a place in case a guy needed something for storage. We don't have any basements, because it's all going to be on slab.
On a slab.
So if you're a land surveyor and you need an area for your equipment, we wanted to be able to have something that they could, we don't know what it's going to be yet. So we were trying to do a placeholder of some kind of storage for each unit in the back. If you're a realtor, you need the sign storage. One of the big problems I ran into when I built the 3 and 3 across the street is that. So, I mean, if you go into Dave's office card, he's got half his signs all over the place. And so it would have been nice to have a little extra space, which I had to have across the street, to have an area for storage. And the problem when we did it before was we didn't call that out, so to have it now, you'd have to go through a whole process to get storage and everything else. So we were trying to call it out beforehand to say, hey, look, each unit back here could have this little, whatever it is, kind of storage for their business.
The 2 units that will be designated as affordable, how long will that designation go?
30 years.
It'd be a 30-year, okay, good. And I'm just curious, as you look at these 2 projects, are they basically going to be, if the world were perfect, God were good, and ice cream wasn't fattening, would they both be going up at the same time? Or are they going sequentially?
I think, I would like to do, I don't know. I haven't thought that. If I got them both approved at the same time, it probably makes sense to do 141, which was the old hotel spot, first, because it's bigger, easier to do. The 134 is a little more challenging because there's not a lot of space there. So probably would do that second. I say that, but it might go concurrently.
Separately financed, both as one project or 2 projects?
It would be, I finance them.
You finance them yourself, okay. And I guess the last
I don't
question.
think a bank would finance them. If I showed you the numbers, you'd be like, you're crazy.
I got just a little fuzzy on one thing. With respect to the rentals, in terms of there being annual leases, it sounded to me like you prefer annual leases, but then you kind of discussed.
Well, in my history, before I had a business that, was
Right.
substantial, I thought my, retirement strategy was rental. So I had accumulated a bunch of rentals, so half of them were yearly, half of them were weekly. So I used to do weekly rentals in the summer, and it was just a lot of work, so I kind of got out of it. And that's what I was saying, like, I don't do that anymore, but I know the business.
Right, are you prepared?
And
Are you prepared to commit to doing annual rentals here?
I wouldn't want to encumber the property. Like, the big problem I don't think a lot of these people understand is when you encumber a property like that, it becomes very hard to finance anything. If your future generation has to get out of it. I mean, I just, I'm trying to show you that the design of the building should be enough to deter it. And even enforcing it, after you tell a guy that, okay, you can't rent weekly, who enforces it? Like, there's nothing in place today that really, you can say it, but designing it so it doesn't become a weekly or student rental is probably, pushing the design piece is probably more effective than having something on his deed.
Well, pushing the design and pushing the pricing in so that you're not loading it up with students and then pushing the pricing. But it works in the opposite direction of providing affordable housing for people who are looking for a year-round lease at an affordable rate. So I guess from my vantage point, that's, it's one of the things I'll be interested in as you come back and you think about that. I presume they're going to be, given their proximity to each other, that aesthetically they're going to look to tie things together on both corners?
Yeah, so,
I see kind of the renderings, but I'm just.
yeah, I would kind of like the same design as I did next door. Maybe, do I do it yellow? I don't know. I mean, if you got a
I'm not
preference,
worried about the color so much. Yeah, I'm not worried about the color so much.
You're right. Yeah, it would be, kind of the same design as that architecturally.
Because
yeah.
there are no design standards in this location, is there?
No.
Jill, there are no design standards, right?
But we've come in before and you've made suggestions that we always take, and we're, it's that piece of it isn't, move this back a little, move that forward, that, as long as we know beforehand, we're happy to, accommodate anything like that,
Thank you, appreciate it.
Steve?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Staff?
Okay, thank you. So again, I think everything was at least touched upon or covered. As far as Mr. Landry and 453427, we do need to talk to our solicitor about that. I know what you're saying, but we'll have a conversation about allowed by right and that. I wanted to just ask a question, if I could, of the applicant. You had said that you're still considering adaptive reuse of 134 Boone?
That was something, I think that was something that came up in our informal discussion, that it could potentially come in because it's an existing mixed-use building. We haven't really gone down that road, frankly, but I think it's something that's hanging out there if it's a redevelopment of an existing commercial structure.
Okay, so just to help me understand, adaptive reuse, so staying with the existing structure, or coming in like, I'm sure, Mr. Vickers, you remember the previous lot where you came in for the special use permit for the non-conforming use?
Yeah, so at one point, I had applied to see what the process would be to do adaptive reuse to exactly what I have now, because the state had said, okay, you can take an existing commercial building, and as long as 50% more is residential, you can change the units to, that was my interpretation, so.
Correct, but it's using the same structure.
Yeah, so instead of doing that.
Okay.
This is what we would like to do.
Okay, so then adaptive reuse is probably not.
Probably not, and if I misspoke,
Okay.
I apologize. So when Mr. Vickers had first evaluated this, the state law was changing quite a bit and things were moving around, as we all know, and it still is. So adaptive reuse was really the most attractive option at the time and made a lot of sense. And then after just all the changes recently and the way things are going, it makes a lot more sense, I think, for my client to
Yeah,
do a
so
new
you
building.
understand, like, so my first thing was to take the Smoothie Booty and the second unit and just make them 2 units, maybe make one affordable or whatever to get the adaptive reuse. We went down that road, and as the rules changed, we said, geez, if we could get this, that makes a lot more sense than trying to retrofit the building that's there.
I took it as you're exploring legal avenues that would be the path of least resistance.
Yes, that's a fair way to put it.
That's why I said I champion and really would have loved to have on the books right now a very simple, straightforward, and accommodating mixed use. We don't yet. I think 2 things are happening here. You have legal affordable housing, but year-round is also affordable. It's attainable because year-round leases, as we all know, that market is much less than what the short-term is. So I support it. Doc, anything on a redirect? Yeah.
Yep.
Go
May I
ahead.
finish?
I am.
Okay, thank you. With the parking, is the intention to again apply for shared parking for what lots 174 and 175?
Yes, the new design, I think, gives us 8 or 9 more parking spots.
Okay.
Which we were saying kind of accommodates the added uses in the building.
Right, okay. So for the point of the folks who weren't here, you absolutely applied for that, the complementary uses on site. And the planning board at the time, now it's through UDR, so you of course have the purview for all approval, but at that time, it was the planning board approval for shared parking. So, okay.
We'll probably have to bring in that lot as part of the
Of course.
just to make sure it's addressed, but it's our intent to make sure that they're looked together for that shared parking arrangement.
Okay. Those are the only 2 things, like I said, most of it was touched upon already. And we'll wait for the full application to come in, and we talked about the sewerage and the drainage, and thank you.
Great. Doc, anything? Tom? Steve? Staff? Any abutters or anybody like to comment? Sir? Do you want to? Will you just come up? Yeah, sure. And thanks, Matt. Just take a seat and.
So I just came to listen tonight, but then I felt compelled to let the chairperson know I'm not a ghost. I'm a living human person that does live at the south end of Boone Street.
I didn't disparage anybody,
yeah,
but
my
when
wife,
you
kids,
talk
and
to,
I do
when you
exist.
talk to the businesses,
Yeah.
they would love to see more people that actually are living on the street.
So there are several full-time families that live south.
Yeah.
Steve Riccitelli, 180 Boone Street. Steve Riccitelli, 180 Boone Street. The only thing that I would say is this. We're currently dealing with an unmitigated disaster, which is Boone Street Market. We didn't expect it to turn into what it turned into. I don't think anybody in the town did. I know myself have been meeting with the owners there. So the only thing I would say about these projects is Mr. Vickers is entitled to do with his lots as he sees fit. But I would just urge that you move with caution, just to make sure that what Mr. Vickers is proposing is what we get in the end. And I think there were some issues along the way with some other projects that happened on that street. There are several full-time families that live in the area, and what I can tell you is, I'm not concerned about parking. It's Narragansett in the summertime. I get it. What I am concerned about is what happens from 1 o'clock in the morning on, which disturbs my family. So again, I wasn't going to say anything. I felt compelled to speak just to let people know there are no ghosts on the south end of Boone Street. We do exist. But that's my only comment. I came here tonight just to listen to see what this was all about. I think it's much better than a 20-bedroom hotel, which was proposed there before. But I would just urge, for the full-time residents' sake, I would just urge the planning board and zoning, and however far this goes, I'll speak at all of them, just proceed with caution, make sure everybody does their due diligence, so at the end of all of this, what Mr. Vickers says is going to be there is actually what we get. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. You want to add anything before you go, or?
Nothing to add. Again, this was just an opportunity to present it to the board, and we look forward to working with you and staff moving forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, why don't we take a 5-minute break? We're back, okay. You requested a, yes. So I would like a continuance for the minutes for July 15th and July 22nd. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a seconded?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Okay. Reports, updates from staff, council, solicitor at board. So I'm going to start with staff. Any updates, staff? That you would like to do it this time, or wait?
Well, nope, everything we were going to talk about is on the agenda.
Okay. All right. Council, anything you'd like to update us about?
Well, the interpretation of some of the new legislation, as we just saw here, is becoming more and more of a question, and Joe and I have talked about it. Mr. Callahan, James, who isn't here tonight, and I are going to try to put something together to give a down and dirty explanation of what the intent of the legislation was. I have an office, conference room and office in the State House, and I have notes in there that I used when I was on the floor. Unfortunately, it'll be done next week, but they decided to paint and put new carpeting in, so they took all my files and put it in storage in the basement. And there's too many rats down there for me to go down there and look for them, so I'll be able to have access to it in the next week or two, and I'll be able to put something together to give to you guys. Maybe have a Q&A if you want.
Yeah, because I want to put together several subcommittees to get through this stuff so we can get it to the town council. All right, great. Coastal Access, we have a meeting tomorrow night. Due to vacations and stuff, we have a lot of people that have young families, so our summer was disjointed. So I'll have something for you at our next meeting. Lands Conservancy Trust?
Sure. Hello, we've got a meeting on Thursday night this week, and at our last meeting, we dedicated a tree to Mr. Callahan, our former solicitor and chairperson of the Land Conservancy Trust, all-around great Narragansett guy. So that was over at Kinney Bungalow, and our meeting Thursday night, I believe, is at Kinney Bungalow as well. So that's about it for my report.
I was all set, ready to go, because I had it in my mind it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I look, and Nancy's like, this sheet says it's 5 o'clock at night. And she's like, and we have dinner reservations, so I had to bail on it. So, zoning ordinances, council just covered that, but I would like to have a subcommittee on zoning, and I was going to ask Tom if you would do that with me.
I'm happy to do it, but I'm trying to interpret the look from staff for just a second.
Thank you. So you're ahead on the agenda. We're still on the 2025 updates, and I actually have an update on that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No problem.
So I provided to you, Mr. Craven just said that he would have something to you guys in a week and a half.
Yep.
I had this last month. It's draft written all over it. Everyone
Yep.
has a copy of it. This was our attempt to synopsize all of the changes that have occurred. And so their bill number, essentially their subject matter, the effective date that they take place, and let me stop for a second to say, thank Ryan, he put together the lion's share of this. Whether there's an amendment needed, whether it's to the subdivision regulations, the zoning ordinance, or both, and the commentary, so the highlights of what those House bills changed. I can't promise you that this is comprehensive. It hasn't been reviewed. We've been waiting. It sounds like we're going to get something from the solicitors in the next week or so. But you can certainly use this as a pretty good jumping off point. It has been looked at by some other folks in my field. So that's where we're starting with that.
Great. 'Cause I was about to- I
Yep,
was
and
about
so
to
your
s-
subdivision regulations, you have it on here twice, so this does cover zoning and subdivision
Yep.
regulations, and we can talk about the formation of subcommittees next if you like.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to say to Tom, we're not going to be able to get going until we get an interpretation, but we do have an interpretation, so.
Well, wait a minute, hold on for a second.
No.
We don't have an interpretation yet.
I'm teasing.
Okay, so I
We
just
won't
want.
be able to get going until we get an interpretation.
You have a
No,
summary
no,
in
no.
front of you, and I'm
We
sure
have a
Mr.
summary in
Craven
front
can
of us.
use that.
We can start using that, but we need an interpretation when we.
Yeah, so let me just say, the subcommittee on subdivision regulations, is that the one we were subcommittee on? And I know it's in advance, but I just want to, it's not on that substance. I just want to say, there has been sensitivity, it seems to me, on the part of the council in terms of the planning board reacting responsively to changes in state legislation. And all I want to make clear is that we can't act until we have appropriate legal guidance.
Correct.
And I understand the way the capital works, and, notes get buried, and you hadn't anticipated that it's going to come. I simply want, for both the council's understanding and the public's understanding, it's not for lack of sitting down and trying to work through these. It's being able to do so with the authority when we come out forward that they've been properly reviewed by council, and we've had good council's advice. So that's all I want to say, Mark.
No, I thank you, because that was in my head and just presumed everybody would know, and I shouldn't. But I do want to get some subcommittees set so that when we get it, we can hit the ground running, so we can get things back. So subdivision regulations review subcommittee, we already have that set. We set that last time.
You do, and just for the record, the subcommittee is Mr. Callahan and Mr. Friday.
Right.
And myself, and we've been working, we've already met twice, and our third meeting, hopefully council will be able to make that third meeting.
Right. Okay, and then zoning, when the time comes, and I'd like to hit the ground running, but have a committee in place. Tom, you?
I'm happy to do that, Mark.
Okay. I also would like to, again, being responsible and reactive to the needs of the council, I'd like to put a subcommittee together to look at 4.3 and 4.4. And I approached Steve. I didn't want to spring this on him because he does have a new child. He's got 3. He has a new baby, and I know what that's all about, and he runs a business. I'm retired, and so are a few of us others. So, again, I told you then, I will give you the option to graciously say thank you, but no thank you because your time is up. But I was wondering if you'd be interested in serving with that with me.
I appreciate the out, Mark. Yeah, I'm interested in serving on that with you. I would love to, absolutely. Okay. I'm surrounded by coastal and freshwater wetlands on all sides, so I'm happy to help.
So I'd like to get that going as soon as possible also. So I'd like to get that going as soon as possible and get something back. All right?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify, who's on the
Please.
zoning ordinance? I have Tom Callahan and...
And Mark Brady. Yeah, 4.3 and 4.4. Freshwater and coastal.
And you're tackling both sections of the ordinance, 4.3 and 4.4?
Yeah. Let me pose this to you. Let you and I talk about it, and if it makes more sense to break those up, then I would do it. I would like to get back to the council with something tangible for them, so if it makes sense to break those up, both in subject matter, and we can discuss this I don't want to discuss it now, we'll discuss it at another time, but if breaking those up, because of content and also time, if we can expedite time by having separate subcommittees looking at each one, I'm open to doing that.
It could be the same subcommittee and 2 separate looks. The reason why I bring it, the look on my face is because my takeaway from that work session with the council was that they were very concerned about the freshwater, the wetlands portion.
Right.
They were very concerned about 4.3 because it, in understanding whether it does seem confusing if you're not 13 years into it.
Right.
It does feel confusing. So that was the reason why you and I had talked offline to put this on. But if you want to tackle both, that's fine. I just think if you want to get something to them ASAP.
Yeah, we do.
You look at what they were concerned about first.
So 4.3 would be the priority. All right? All right. So we got that. Anything else anybody wants to add to that? No? Okay. E4, affordable housing discussion. So this has been something we've informally and at times got involved in just from projects and stuff like that. But I would really like to start formally brainstorming as a board, not even as a subcommittee, ideas. And I'd like to squeeze it in our next meeting to have some time to start looking at serious ideas. And I don't think, to me, anything's off the table. You know, I look at, for example, you know, there's a lot of discussion, you know, do we redo a number of these ordinances? I look at this from a business perspective at times, because that's where I come from. And to me, those are valuable assets. And those assets could be deployed and as used as negotiating with landowners to possibly take and make sites that traditionally are, you know, non-conforming, conforming to building, but building in a way so that it's attainable housing or something. You know, I think we should look at, and this is what I'm saying, out of the box, things like, you know, public-private partnerships, not even waiting for a state level, but what can we do on a local level where we could help on the front end or the back end or somewhere with a developer to get some of these things going, where we can, you know, sprinkle money in different spots rather than dumping money on one small thing. So again, those are kind of one end of the spectrum to the other. One is kind of traditional, and the other one is thinking out of the box. And I think that we are, you know, I try not to get political about things, and it's not intended as political. I was very excited when I heard that the legislature was coming down with land use reforms to create affordable housing. I think it creates incentives to build. I don't know necessarily if it creates incentives to build affordable in certain markets. The markets will determine that. So I think we need to look at things, you know, to me, I expected to see incentives, mandates, things like that. And maybe that comes next. You walk before you run. But I think we can't wait any longer. And I think we all have a passion. I know we all have a passion for affordable. I have said repeatedly that I think and I saw this in Massachusetts when I dealt it with Massachusetts, is, you know, the state comes out and says, well, 10% of your housing stock needs to be affordable. Well, that's great. We started building houses in the 1600s. You know, it's ridiculous. If you want to say going forward 10%, that may make more sense. And essentially, the onerous part of this gets on landowners, developers, builders. And they weren't to blame. They're just doing what the market wants them to do. So I think we need to look at ways of partnering with them to see their sides of things as to why. And I've known this from the beginning because I've worked on the private sector and also the public sector. But you know, listening to Steve more and more is, you know, the cost of these things is really draining. So I really would like us to put ideas together and nothing's off the table. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, Mark. I come at this from a variety of different angles. So one of the things, just practically speaking, I would suggest that the folks that are doing the affordable housing collaborative work here ought to be part of the conversation. They ought to be invited, and to kind of be sure we understand what they're up to, and from that vantage point. You know, you got to have a target on some of this stuff. It's not clear to me, Bob. I've been reading some of the stuff, and it's not clear to me for Narragansett, for example, that 10%, what it actually applies to, whether it applies to, because the 10% seems to refer back to a defined term in one of the statutes of year-round housing. And if it's year-round housing in Narragansett, the denominator is a much smaller denominator than what and so we really need to have guidance with respect to understanding that, whether that applies or not, because if if it's a, the way I read it now, if it's a community with more than 5,000 rental units, you got to have 15 or 25%, depending on what it is. If you don't have that, then it's the number of year-round units, not the number of total units. The number of year-round units is the denominator. That would make a substantial difference in terms of what Narragansett's goal is. And so understanding that would be helpful. I don't know if you have an answer on the fly now or not.
I don't, but I can tell you this, and you would say the same thing, I'm sure, Steve. The variable is not the cost of materials, it's the cost of land.
Correct.
And so density is always, and setbacks is always the issue. Can I get more yield? And then therefore, can I afford to put more units and eat the profit by building an affordable unit that is sold and deeded, for deed restriction for a long period of time. But the General Assembly has addressed some statewide issues as far as affordable housing, i.e. Mobile home parks. They're as affordable as it gets. We have lots of them in North Kingstown and Pawtucket and Warwick, et cetera. They've been deemed to be affordable housing, where previously Rhode Island Housing said no. They were the ones who were classifying what was and what was not affordable housing. So it may be, in a roundabout way, that your question probably being more specific to South County and particularly to Narragansett, that the legislature may need to address the issue of is an affordable house restricted to only being a year-round house, and that the remainder, as you say, when you're doing the math, getting to the 10%, which is the goal that has been in effect since the late 70s. But
Right, so what it's chapter 4553-2.
Yep.
And it says the subsection B of the definition of an approved housing plan that is, quote, consistent with local needs, low and moderate income housing exists, which is in the case of an urban city or town, which has at least 5,000 occupied year-round rental units, and units as reported in the latest decennial census of the city or town comprise 25% or more of the year-round housing units. Neither one of those is us. We don't have 5,000 year-round rental units. Or, in the case of all other cities and towns, us, is in excess of 10% of the year-round housing units reported in the census. So for us, the 10% figure would be, the way I read this, I'm not a lawyer, and I know how the law works in terms of referring to chapters and titles and so on and so forth. But what that would be is 10% of the year-round housing that's here in Narragansett, which is a far different number than 10% of the total number of houses and housing units in Narragansett. So the point I'm making, Mark, is it would be helpful for you to know what really the target is. And then the question becomes twofold. How much can you build, number one, and can you influence market dynamics in a way that would have an overall effect of lessening the housing pressure here. And the only way to do that then in a way it could be done in Narragansett is essentially to weigh in with the University of Rhode Island and the state and the Board of Trustees and get the university to build more housing over a 10-year period of time. And that would have the effect of making housing generally more affordable in Narragansett as a general rule, right?
sure.
So I would say, Mark, there's at least three pieces of this apple to me. One, what's the target? Two, what do we do on the supply side? And three, what can we do on the demand side?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you say it more eloquently than I do, because I think even if we meet our 10%, that's a target, but that doesn't meet our need. We need it. And the market, to me, here is very different than even Newport, where you say, well, we have Salve and we're a beach community. It's a different market. And, right now with the cost of attaining property, the easiest path is to buy an existing house. You don't have to worry about getting sewer water to it. You don't have to worry about your wetlands. Everything's defined. It's a known entity. So now you have the cost of your property attainment acquisition is higher. And then you've got to build whatever you've got to build on top of it. And you start looking at, I need a return on this. And the most logical return from a business standpoint is short-term rental. How do we move that even to year-round? Because to me, year-round rental, and not just to me, if you look at it, it's a different market. And it is while it's not legally capital A affordable, it's lowercase a attainable markets. And how do we do that? What strategies we do? And I have it in my original notes that I'd like to include you in on this is, not only from a legal standpoint, but from a legislative standpoint. What can we do? We can look at what other communities are doing, and I look at, say, okay, but how applicable is that? And I appreciate the effort, and people are like, oh yeah, you're opposed to everything. I'm not. I appreciate what the legislature did. But you have to look at markets on a local level, and it's not a one fix fits all. It doesn't. And so, and I understand, and I'm hoping this is like a first phase, and they start looking and saying, okay, we got to tweak this here, we tweak this here, and that's usually what happens. But just to build more big houses doesn't necessarily bring affordable houses. It brings more big, expensive houses. And so I agree with you. I think, and we've all said it, and we've all discussed this, till we're blue in the face, is it's a complicated matter. It is a complicated matter, and the problem on it is that it's the livelihood of a lot of people at stake. Even people who have, a passion for affordable have to sit there and say, well, I got to be in business tomorrow morning too. So it's not something that's going to be solved overnight. It's not something that's going to be easy, but I think it's something that we've talked about tackling. And I really would at least like to get the ball started while I'm here. It's no secret I'm up in November. I don't know that I'm going to be here beyond that. But there are some things that I'm passionate about. This is one of those. And I've started writing a list of things that I think legacy-wise I'd like to see tackled. Another one is the mixed use. I think mixed use is vital. I know it's not a priority right now with the council. They have bigger fish to fry, but I think it's a priority. It should be a priority. I'd like to see us get a tech board in place, not only for subdivisions, but take off the plate of this board things like sheds and driveways and porches and patios, and put those in an administrative setting where they can be done quickly and turned around. And then it opens us up to take on more subdivisions and more tangible stuff that will hopefully help the housing supply here. So that's just me going on, and I apologize. I don't usually do that, but kind of passionate about some of this stuff. All right. So I'd like you to...
I'm going to jump in here, Mark. I got a lot to say about affordable housing. I'd love to be part of the discussion.
No, I want everybody. I don't want this to be a subcommittee. I want us to all, and I'd like to really make something next month. People come in with ideas and discussion points. And
It's part of the agenda.
It's going to be part of the agenda, and let's really put it off.
Part of it right now, so I'd like to jump in if I can. If you don't mind.
No, I'm not stopping you. I'm just saying,
understand.
I don't want it just to be a subcommittee someplace where I want us to start really attacking this.
Great. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree, Mark. And I can see you're passionate about it, and I think that's great. We have differing opinions on a lot of it. I've addressed a lot of it before, but I'm going to say a few things again. First, I want to commend Tom. I think that was a succinct presentation of the problem. We definitely need to look at both the supply and the demand. I'm going to again reiterate that the demand from the college students, I think we have a different opinion on how great that demand is. For me, based on the conversations I've had, we have student rentals that go unrented every winter. They're not the same ones, otherwise there'd be pressure to turn those over into year-rounders. But there is an abundance of supply currently. That's not to say there won't be a growth in demand. That won't mean that more people won't want to rent here later. But right now, we have unrented units. So the supply is exceeding the current college demand. The bigger problem, I think, is the college demand itself. I went to URI. I know some other people here went to URI. Mark, did you live on campus the whole time you were at URI?
No, I lived on Great Island. I've said that
Yeah,
before.
no,
I've lived on Great Island.
I couldn't remember, so I was asking.
Yeah, no.
You did? I did. The whole time? The whole time. Good for you, Tom. I didn't live there for a single day. You could not pay me to live in those dorms. Not a chance. I wasn't into it. Now, I did transfer in, so I was already like 20 by the time I came to URI. 19. In any event, I was not going to live there. A lot of people who rent in the town of Narragansett don't want to live there. As I've said before, and if you're listening, URI, get ready for a heart attack. I'd like to see a bar on campus to keep some of those seniors on campus. I'd like to see some nightlife in the town of South Kingstown closer to campus so that they stay over there. Now, we don't have any control over that, but I think that's one of the driving problems in our heightened seasonal demand here, is that people obviously want to live there because they live there. But the people who don't want to live there want to live here. And I don't blame them. It's nice here. My next point was about the bigger houses being more expensive. This might surprise you. I've built some small houses over the years. Now, this isn't tiny by Narragansett standards, but I built a 1,500-ish square foot house in Jamestown 8 years ago. And it sold. It was a brand new house in Jamestown Shores. It was very nice. It's a desirable neighborhood. It sold for $650,000, which was all
8 years ago?
8 years ago. And that was all the money. Let me tell you, I didn't think we were going to get it. That was all the money. It sold, I want to say 8 months ago, resold. Maybe it was 10 months ago. $1.2 million.
Yeah, that's the
It's
problem.
not a big
That's the
house.
market.
Yeah, people want to live here. They don't care if it's a 500 square foot house. They want to be here. So we're not going to be able to change that. We can change the URI kids. Maybe we can push them that way. But you're never going to get people to not want to live here. So, but we can work on the supply side. And the other thing I heard was about the Affordable Housing Trust. Maybe we work with developers. I actually had an informal discussion with the affordable housing people. And first, I want to commend Sue Bonanno. If you're listening, you put the squeeze on somebody, you twisted their arm, and you got 2 more affordables maybe when we're done in town. Great work, Sue. She posed a similar question. What if the Affordable Housing Trust, or what if the town was able to give grants to builders or developers in order to get them to build affordable housing? And I'll tell you what I told her. I don't think it's right for the taxpayers in Narragansett to pay me, to pay somebody else, to come in front of this board or any other board in town and argue for whatever I want to build. It's not their job to support me. It's not their job to support any developer. And frankly, you could do it easier by being more proactive about letting developers know we're development friendly. Please come in with your affordable housing projects. We want you to come in. And most of it now is redevelopment because, like you said, there's not much land left. So I think the last 3 affordable housing projects we did were redevelopments, knocking down old crap houses that were either condemned or nobody wanted or the roof was falling in, and you put in condominiums and people like them and you get some affordables in town. So I'm very much in favor of that. I'm not super in favor of us helping developers by giving them any kind of monetary contribution to their inevitable arguments with the town. It seems exhausting and counterproductive. But that's what I got.
So I want to extend this substantive part of this conversation. I'll say 3 things. One is, just real quick, there's a role for nonprofit developers here. Nonprofit developers probably going to come at this project a little different than you are in terms of how dense the LMI's units are going to be and the need for subsidy associated with that than you're going to do, Steve. So, and they're more likely to produce more units more quickly. Well, maybe not more quickly. I'll take that back. More units than is going to get done by the private market here. 2, I'll say, I haven't seen it for the last 3 weeks, but I could swear 3 or 4 weeks ago, I saw a note that the Affordable Housing Collaborative was again having a public meeting next month, mid-month, with the University of Rhode Island. That would include the senior vice president for administration there and the person who runs their housing program. And that would be, for example, an opportunity to begin to flush out, because it's not clear to me in any of the conversations I've had with the council, with the manager, or anyone else, that there is a routine, specific venue for conversations like this with the University of Rhode Island. And that's really kind of it's got to start to happen if we're going to have any influence. And I don't pretend to control anything. I just try to influence the outcomes. That's all I can do. So we ought to engage in that conversation and see if we can't find a place to kind of dig in on this thing. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think, when you look at the numbers, and I've heard 6,000 to 8,000 students live in town.
That's Crane. That's Crane report.
So, what's that?
That's the Crane report.
Yeah, so you're looking at 48 to 51% of UI's total student population is here. Is here.
It's nice here.
It's here,
Depends on your point of view, Steve.
I like it here.
So, so the approach that, if we're going to do this and make it worthwhile, there's an approach that I learned actually in Japan. And the Japanese, especially in the 80s when they were going full bore, everybody was like, how can they do what they do? And they have a tradition, and it's a demand in business and in life, which is different than what we do. There's two things. One, they look at breakthrough thinking. We have an action, we want to do this. And I'll give you an example, because it was the closest the U.S. came to breakthrough thinking. We want to get a man to the moon and return him safely. Well, NASA knew they could get a man to the moon. That wasn't the issue. They had no idea if they could bring him home. No idea whatsoever. So we have an action sphere. And then we have a historic sphere and where we want to go. And we loop them. And we tend to do in this country is go through and say, okay, what worked the last time and what didn't? And we carry over to our future what worked. Well, breakthrough thinking says there is no history. And in that situation, there was no history. We'd never sent a man to the moon who certainly did not try to bring him home. So that's one thing I'd like us to look at, is let's stop just limiting ourselves to what was done in the past. The other thing is the Japanese really work brutally hard on finding value what other people have, and really finding the value in it. If you look at the dynamics of groups within this country, and I taught my students this because even they do it, is people listen attentively. And when the speaker's finished, the first thing out of their mouth is, yeah, but. And what they're saying is, I didn't hear a damn thing you said because I've been preparing my argument. Where the Japanese are forced to find elements of value in what the other person is saying. And when you do that, you come up with a different result. And if we're going to do this and be successful, we need to do that, both of those things. We need to stop looking at the past and what did work and what didn't work, because the dynamics are not the same. And we've got to stop saying, well, this is what I believe and this is where it is, because it's not just that line. This isn't a point in time. And it's too critical to do that, in my opinion. And in my opinion, and this is just my humble opinion, if that's the approach we're going to take, then we're wasting our time, we're wasting the town's time, we should do other things. That's all I got to say. Anybody else want to add to this?
I'm not going to commit seppuku, if that's what you're waiting for.
No.
I'm messing with you, buddy. I'm messing with you. No, I think you had a lot of valuable things to say, and I really think nonprofits definitely, I'm in favor of them. They serve a great need. My I'm not about government spending of that money. Nonprofit, great, I'm on board, let's do it, let's put as many in there as we can. The government spending is where I get a little,
Well,
but yeah, please, go ahead.
But, yeah, you are the, thank you. You are the government. But here's the
Now
thing,
I
Steve.
might commit sepulchre.
Here's the thing, Steve. What if some government investment is what it takes to get this ball rolling? To get the market to change even a little, not to get the whole market to change, but to create a sliver within the market where all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, this is doable. I'm not,
Sure.
that's what I'm looking to.
It's certainly possible. Obviously, we'd have to figure out what that is.
Sure, what's it look like?
I think the thing that I like, that the state government did with the comprehensive permit, which I know most people don't like, but what I like about it is that it incentivized the construction of affordable units that cost the taxpayer nothing. Nothing. You just let them use their land a little bit more than you would have let them use it before, and affordable units are generated, and the builders eat the cost. And the cost is substantial, not just in land, but I'll be honest with you, the material cost has gone out of control.
Yeah.
I just bought a box of red cedar siding.
Ooh, good luck.
Ooh, $450. The first box I bought was 12 years ago for $80. So everything's gone up. Building costs money, land costs money. It's nice that we get to create this. I enjoy doing it. It's nice. And I'd like to see more of them.
I agree with you on that, and I think that was the vision. I think too often, my experience, both in Massachusetts and here, is you have developers who are looking at parcels of land that haven't been developed in 150 years because they can't, and they're using it. They're using it to say, hey, you can't stop me. And they're creating bad developments, which has now created a bad taste in a lot of people's, and I'm just putting the other side of that. And sadly, and they may be a small fraction of the guys, but they're the ones that are seen and heard. And that it's unfortunate, but that's also part of this, the same, different side of the same coin.
Yep, absolutely, I agree. There's good and bad with everything.
Yep.
It's also subjective terms. I might look at a development and think it's great. You might look at it and think it's terrible. So, but I agree, there are definitely ones where people are using it as a cudgel. But don't forget, 150 years ago, you could have just done it. So this is in response to the overwhelming zoning ordinances that have been created over the last 100 years. Because 60 years ago, when the neighborhood I lived in was developed, they just did it. There was no zoning. Go ahead. They filled the whole swamp.
Yeah, but
and
also,
I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that's most of Narragansett is filled swamp.
Yeah.
Like the ladies from Bonnet earlier, that's everywhere where there's a house, there's a filled swamp. I mean, there are wetlands there that are focused because they've been filled around.
But, I understand what you're saying and agree to, but the other side of that coin, same side, is houses burnt down, people built their own decks. In Narragansett, in my neighborhood in Metattuxet, some people almost died because the decks collapsed. So, so the state steps in and says, hey, you need engineered plans, we need a real big boy to be building these things. People in town blame us for that. It's not, it's a state building code. But anyway, so I really would like us to tackle this. This is something I'd at least like to have the ball rolling now. Whether it continues beyond me, that's up to everybody else, but I'd like to see it start.
Great, I'm with you. Let's do it.
Great.
So you're planning this as a part of our next
I'd like to
meeting?
have it as part of our next agenda, and I'd like everybody to come in and just the wildest, craziest ideas, or not even if it's not a tangible idea. I just want a brainstorming session. And what happens is when people put something out, and I'll give you a real example. I had a consulting company, and we were brainstorming for a piece of equipment for a submarine, and somebody said gummy bears. We're like, what? And gummy bears. And we came back to gummy bears, and what they said was that everybody had the specs, so everybody was building the same thing. The problem is, it was a very sensitive device, and any vibration was throwing it off. And what he said, if we can find a gel, essentially the consistency of a gummy bear, we could insulate that. And it won't take up much space. It's not easy as it sounds, but we did it. So any idea is not out of it. It may lead to another idea, which may lead to a strategy, which may lead to a solution. So it's way later than we should be going, so.
Last comment, Mark.
Yeah.
Bob, Robert, can we get a definitive answer to what Narragansett goal, what applies for Narragansett's goal for the next meeting, how it's going to be calculated?
I'll do my best. Yep.
Okay. Because absent that, the notion is how short are we? And just because, even if we found that we were over the goal, which we won't, we still have both an obligation and a desire to build affordable housing. So, but it would be helpful to understanding, you know, if this is really the denominator is year-round units as opposed to units, then we've got a different set of issues here.
I would tell you that for the 13-plus years I've been in the General Assembly, we've dealt with the goal. Every year we had to continue it because the statute's timeline had run its course. And the penalty was going to be that you, as a zoning board, would lose your jurisdiction and it would go to statewide planning if you didn't meet your goal. That does not seem to be I can tell you, the General Assembly's intent to play some kind of a punishment game. What I do think is Narragansett is unique. Your problems are unique with the University of Rhode Island. I mean, just talking about the numbers, it's ridiculous. There's no other, even Providence doesn't have that, and they've got 3 universities or 4 universities up there. I like this new president of URI.
I do too.
And I'll tell you, I think if you brought him in here and say, this is not our problem, this is not Narragansett's problem, it's our collective problem, and what are you going to do about it? And maybe we've got a solicitor here who's a legislator as well, and we can figure out ways to build more dorms at URI, bonding it, because they seem to be able to make money on the students.
Correct.
And then just doing something simple. Freshman and sophomore can't live off campus, period.
Correct.
Yep.
Then
Correct.
now you've solved your problem of the
Well, we
students.
solved a good portion of it. Yeah, I agree with you. So the only thing I would say a little different about that, Robert, is the folks that need to have that conversation, I'd love to have that conversation. I would be inclined to.
I'll ask them to come if you want me to.
My issue is this is whether it probably should be here or should it be at the town council. My guess is.
Yeah, I was going to say.
My guess is this is, the town council will probably say this is above your pay grade.
That's what I was.
Could be.
But the town council to engage, and not just as a one-off in terms of a happy dance that comes in here, you know, but to your point, saying, we've got a serious issue. It manifests itself in a couple of different ways, whether it be sewer, so on and so forth. We need to fix this. We can either do this in partnership, or we can basically, you know, I've seen it, you know, have a set of demands and make it a little acrimonious. And my preference would be for the former than the latter. But again, I would say the question is who's really the folks to sit down with them on this one.
Well, maybe we can do something joint. I don't
Yes.
know. And
Well, if you use the next meeting to begin to pencil out your priorities and how you're going to go about doing it.
And I'll be honest with you, I would love you to be part of this, because, and the staff, obviously, because you guys see more than we do. We see here. You see statewide. They're involved with people statewide. Any and all ideas that you see out there, we'd like that. We want everybody, my vision is everybody is part of this conversation.
And then I think after you pencil out your priorities in 1 or 2 meetings, collaborate jointly with the council and say, let's get a meeting together, because we figured out just by sheer math that half our problem is down in Kingston.
And
let's get together with them.
Yeah, and I'm not going to prejudge where the council will land on these issues.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? That, for example, you know, we're going to have a little joint session in a couple of weeks on 3-student ordinance. That
Yeah.
might be a good place to flesh some of this out.
Sure, maybe, yeah.
So, Joe, you look like you want to interject something. Okay. You've been here long enough. Steve, something quick?
I have an insane idea.
Go
You want
for
to
it.
hear a quick, crazy one?
I love crazy.
What if we created a zone where we actually encouraged dormitory-style building?
There's 150 acres at URI Bay campus.
That'd be fine. I was thinking more along Route 108, because it goes to the Scarborough plant, which is less burdened than the Mooresfield Road plant, and they already occupy almost all of Eastwood Look and New Eastwood Look.
Maybe something.
But I'm thinking outside the box
How
here.
about the acquisition of Fort Greene?
Fort Greene, huh? Yeah, if you can get your hands on it. I mean, I was thinking more along the lines
If
of
we're going crazy.
changing the zoning so that private industry could fill the need
If we're going
without
crazy.
having to fight us and terrorize all the neighborhoods in town, but
So this is
That's
what
not a bad idea either.
But these are the ideas I want people to bring. And there's great, Yukon is a great example. Quinnipiac had a very acrimonious situation where it was almost like, why don't you guys just leave? They put it together a situation where it attracted the people that normally went off campus, the seniors, juniors, and seniors. They actually have a bar in the building. You know, my niece graduated from UNH, and if you've ever seen, it is right adjacent to, it's on the border. In fact, the police go through there, they send buses through, and it looks like a townhome development. And they have a barn there that is a clubhouse and things like this. There are stuff that is being done that works. And if we can get a joint group, I think that would be great. But the first step is everybody sitting here, if you can come in with a laundry list of crazy ideas, work. It's amazing. Crazy ideas got us to the moon and back. So if there's nothing else on this, I put planning board communication discussion. I got blindsided at a town council meeting a couple weeks ago, where the chairman or the president of, I don't know what they're called here. I don't pay attention. I usually call it chair of any board or council, said that the planning board had endorsed to him not to have public comment. This planning board never discussed that. We never went forward to that. And it was said several times, and I was taken aback. I know people have individual relationships. I encourage that. You're a private citizen. But I am telling you that the board makes a decision for the board, not an individual. If you have an idea that you think we should be doing that, I hope by now everybody knows I'm about as open as I can be here. Bring it to the table, we discuss it, we vet it out, and then we'll decide as a group. The other part, sending information to the board, to the council, or to any other board, if it is relevant to something that is on the table, you don't do that. That goes to staff and to the board. The board will send that up if it's something that's on the table. If it's something not, and you think, hey, I got this idea, or I heard people saying, that's fine, that you're a private citizen. But the board's business goes through the board. I was just floored because I never heard anything, we never discussed anything about procedures because it's none of our business what the procedures are. If they had asked us for advice, as a board, we would tell them what we think and send it to them. So I just want to, this has always been the practice and the policy of this board that the board acts as the board. And again, I don't want to get into it deep. I just was taken aback. I had nothing to say because I was inundated by questions and was like, I don't know anything about this. And I didn't say that. I swallowed my pride because I wasn't going to throw the council under the board, under the bus. But we never endorsed anything. And so I would like us to continue to keep our integrity as a board by making board decisions as a board. And if we could do that, I think we steer a great ship. So that's all I got left. All right. Staff, you want to add anything to anything tonight? No? Council? Follow up on any of you guys? Can I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Seconded? All those in favor? All right.